card, be able to discuss their topic with the board. Now, there are quite obviously a number of things going on in this room that have nothing to do with our agenda today. Right? There is no vote to place the rainbow flag anywhere. There's no vote to endorse one thing or the other. There's nothing on the agenda about transgender rights or anything else. So while I love that you're all here, the basis for our agenda, and if you really want to talk about the LCAP and the May revised budget from the governor, happy to have that conversation. So, hold on guys. So, in the event that assuages any concerns or fears or being compelled to speak, I don't want you to have to say, well, I showed up, so I better say something even though it's not on the agenda or it's not really what's going on tonight. I got an email or a social media post about something that is clearly inaccurate. All right? But if you wish to address the board, you're entitled to do so, and we were happy to hear you. 1 minute at a time, or as many people as we can get through, up to 30. All right, with that said and done, we will start the meeting. In accordance with board policy, this is to announce that tonight's board meeting is being recorded. Persons wishing to address the board on any agenda or non-agendized item might fill out the speaker card. We just talked about that. I'll ask you now to please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Anthony, will you please lead us?
Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Born and unborn, of course.
Amen, sister.
Board, we have an agenda to adopt. We have a motion. Motion by Joe, second by Karen. Please vote. And adoption of the agenda passes 5-0. At this point in time, we report out of closed session. We do have some reportable activity. It was moved by Karen, seconded by Joe, to accept the settlement agreement in case OAH 2023-01-0792. The vote was 5-0. Second item, it was moved by Joe and seconded by Juliana to accept the settlement agreement in OAH 2023-03-0718. That motion passed 5-0. Then as the final item of the closed session, it was moved by Joe and seconded by Karen to release employee number 542736 from the administrative position to a non-administrative position for the 2023-2024 school year, and that matter passed as a 5-0 vote. That ends the report out of closed session this evening. Going into information and discussion, local control accountability plan.
Well, first, testing.
Also note, folks, we have asked some of our presenters to try to expedite their presentations to accommodate everybody this evening.
I'm not realistic, sorry.
Thank you. First, I just want to say this is very exciting. We've never had this many people attend an LCAP presentation. Very exciting. We are going to shorten our presentation this evening. There are some required elements of the presentation. That's the local indicators for both Cajon Valley and Bostonia. We'll be covering those this evening. We'll bring back the other highlights at our second June meeting. And just so everyone knows, both LCAPs are also another item for public hearing, and the public documents are there. To abbreviate this, I'm going to turn it over to our amazing Director of Data and Assessment, Bethany Schwab.
Hello, Governing Board. Thank you so much for having me here. I'm going to go through our local indicators. Just so you know, when we say local, this is data that we've collected within Cajon Valley. In February, Jana Leonard came to you and went over all of our state indicators. So you'll see these are going to just be another layer of things we collected internally. So to get us started, of course, there we go. My worst fear is happening, everything. There we go. Okay. Thank you. Beautiful. Okay, so our first local indicator we are required to report out on is basic services and conditions, which is part of priority 1 of our LCF. We use our Williams audit that happens in fall. And then we also use our California Healthy Kids survey to report out on this priority 1. So a couple of the highlights is from our Williams audit, all of our schools passed, all of our students have access to core curriculum, there were no teacher vacancies or misassignments, and lastly, all of the facilities that were reviewed by the county met our good repair standard. Kind of areas to focus on would be within our California Healthy Kids survey. You'll see that 7% of our 5th graders indicated their school building is never neat or clean, and 22% of our 7th graders disagree or strongly disagree their school is usually clean and tidy. So you'll notice I'm highlighting some of these pieces that you will see then informed when we took different pieces to be funded by the LCAP committee. You'll see the connections here between our local indicators and what Karen's going to be presenting. All right, the next section is priority 2. So this is all around our state academic standards. So we did a teacher survey, and from that we needed more information. So some of the fabulous educators even in this room came and they sat and we did teacher focus groups, specifically around literacy to learn more. So some of the highlights we saw was there was an overall feeling of there are adequate ELA and math materials. Sometimes there's too much and I don't know what to do with it. Overall feeling supported through professional learning, and then also there was a highlight to some of the amazing site and district instructional coaches. One of the barriers that came up over and over again is inconsistent access to professional learning due to there are not a lot of substitutes right now. So right now we're asking our educators to come on their own time, which is amazing. There are so many educators that do this, but it's not fair because it becomes inconsistent because I have to give up my own time to be able to access the learning I need. There was a call for a need for more collaboration time, more time during the day to get together with other teachers and collaborate around data, around learning, around planning. And then lastly, we heard this over and over again in the teacher focus groups, additional knowledge about the best practices in literacy instruction. Going into priority 3, this is around parent and family engagement. We did this through a Google form that we sent out through ELAC and DLAC. Some of the positives were, again, that highlight of the strong relationships with staff and families. Our families feel like their input is included in the decision making. Some areas to focus on next is just that continued need to build capacity and build trust between staff and families, and also helping our families understand how to advocate for their student needs. Priority 6 is around school climate. We measure this through our student Gallup as well as our California Healthy Kids survey. Our highest indicators were around our kids having a best friend at school. So our kids, 87% agree or strongly agree that they have a best friend at school. Another highlight is our adults and our staff love our kids, and it's showing up in our data. So you can see our other 2 highest indicators where my teachers make me feel my schoolwork is important and the adults at my school care about me. So relationships, relationships, relationships. Our next step is we did see a dip in I feel safe at school and my classmates care about me. So adult to student relationships are showing up strong. Student to student relationships are our next step of supporting. Priority 6 is our access to broad course of study. So this is a Google form that was completed by site administrators. And do our kids have access to a broad course of study? So our highlights for our designated ELD and GLAD strategies are consistent across the district. We do have ongoing professional learning to support our English learners and small group instruction. Our next steps, chronic absenteeism, which is preventing our students from accessing these amazing opportunities at our schools. And also, we still are running into some limitations with the middle school master schedule. A couple other highlights I just want to show. So we did just finish our last iReady reading diagnostic. And although we know that reading is our challenge and we're taking it on next year and we're excited about this opportunity, there's still a lot of room to grow. But I want to show some growth. So on our last iReady diagnostic overall, you can see that last year at this time, 60% of our kids were making their typical growth. Remember, growth is, this is where I started. This is about how much I should make in a year. We had about 60% making that. This year, we jumped up 4% in our reading for typical growth. But the data point that is really exciting to me is this next piece around stretch growth. Stretch growth means our kids are making more than 1 year's growth. So compared to last year where we only had 35% of our kids, now we had 49% of our kids, so a 14% increase in stretch growth. Some big site celebrations. So some of our highest performing sites were Tay Elementary, Meridian, Rancho San Diego, and Magnolia, LCC and Hillsdale, and then Party and Cajon Valley Home. So some highlights in our data. Great work. So our last piece of data to highlight is student voice. So we always go back to our kids and ask them, if you were given a magic wand to change one thing about your school next year, what would it be? And how would you use your new power to make it happen? So here's a couple things I can say. Or not. Breaks, longer recess, longer lunch, but more social time. That kept coming up more and more. I need time to talk. I need time to calm down. I need time to regulate. Within academics, more field trips, less or no homework, more electives, and hands-on learning. For belonging, nicer students. Feel like they have a place to enjoy themselves, no more bullies, a cleaner campus, and then we talked a lot about the bathrooms. Thank you.
Going to 7B now for Bostonia.
Well, good evening, board, cabinet. It's an honor to be here tonight, and an honor to have everybody come for my LCAP presentation. So thank you. So this is Bostonia Global, and we are an in-district charter that is part of the Cajon Valley. And we are excited to, thank you, and share a little bit about our LCAP. Mine is going to be slightly different than what Bethany was sharing, because I find it very valuable to go over our primary goals and what is it that we're focusing towards. Perfect. So a little bit of an overview quickly, and I promise to be as fast as possible because I know we have a lot to talk through tonight. We have three main design elements that Bostonia Global focuses in on. The first is around this idea of advisory. Every student has a voice. Every student deserves strong relationships. Every student needs to know that there are adults at the school that love them and care for them. And so our entire model revolves around the idea of knowing students really well and building very strong relationships with them. The second tenet of our school revolves around the idea of creating strong impact within a global community. We know our students come from all over the world. Their voice matters, and we want to make sure that they have a platform to be able to share their ideas, their thoughts, and their creativity with the world around them. And the third component, which is likely the most difficult within a California context, is the idea of creating an individualized pathway for every scholar. As our school grows and as we maximize out, we want to make sure that every single student has an individualized pathway and has the ability to find success no matter where they come from and no matter where they want to head. So what I wanted to do tonight is focus in on our primary goals and just talk through it, and it's going to be rather quick, but we'll be coming back again towards the end of June and be talking through this as well again. So the first goal is around ensuring high quality learning experiences. Bostonia is focusing on multilingualism, multiliteracy, multicultural learning, and being able to focus in on the world around them. And so our students do a variety of examples of how to do that, but the primary focus for us is around this concept of exhibitions. We want to make sure that our students are able to present who they are to the world around us, and we're very excited this is a major component of what we stand for. Throughout our year, students have multiple opportunities to exhibit their learning and to be able to demonstrate how they're smart in many different ways. And so for us, when we focus in on our data, we want to make sure that all students have the access to be able to do this effectively and to be able to grow in this area. And so for us, continue to focus in on how do we support presentation literacy at Bostonia to grow, what are platforms that we're providing, how to continue to grow our TEDx platform and our TEDx clubs, and how to ensure that we create an environment where all students are heard and where all students feel cared for within the context of the school. The second goal is around this idea of knowing students very well with regards to who they are and building relationships. We know that as students matriculate through elementary to middle school, there's an unfortunate drop-off in how students are thought about being responsible. And so we know that students as they enter the high school realm need a lot of love, they need to be cared for, and we need to ensure that they're supported. And so for us, we have multiple measures in which we look for, but we have through Beable an ability to look at what are our students' interests, what are their strengths, what are their values, what are the things that they care about the most, and to be able to design a school around that. And so as you can see here, students at our school are focused on many different angles and many different areas that they care about. For us, is continuing then to grow in that area. We want to ensure that within our K-8 context, our computer coding science continues to grow. We want to make sure that every single student is able to grow within their individualized learning plans. And we want to make sure that as we grow through our own Gallup scores, we're able to grow and ensure that our students are being supported, not just within New Blue Studios or Environmental Stimulated Complex or the TEDx, but all through project-based work and really design what that may look like. I'm going to keep going as fast as I can. The third idea is around building relationships and really being thoughtful about that. And a lot of that has to do about when you get into high school world, you have to be heard, you have to be cared for. As you can see all around us, there's students and there's opinions and there's perspectives that are all different types and varieties, and we have to honor all of that within our context as a high school. And so we want to ensure that students feel like they belong. We want to ensure that they feel like they have hope and belonging, and not just that, but they feel like school is a place where they want to be. And so for us, really focusing in on that data. The fourth is around looking at how do we provide targeted intervention supports for our scholars. We acquire students from all over San Diego within the high school here in Cajon Valley. And we noticed that 24% of our students were on track to make 1 year's growth in reading. But for us, the key context here is that we're receiving students from all over San Diego, where many of those students are at a 3rd grade reading level or 4th grade reading level. And for us, the focus then has to be around literacy. What can we do to continue to grow our students in their literacy abilities and to ensure that they are focusing in on their future selves through that? I'm going to keep going. And then finally, goal 5 is around the idea of ensuring that all students have the ability to find gainful employment or post-secondary options. And for us, this is about supporting students in terms of their future selves. As some of you may know, Bostonia students, when they're in high school, they leave to learn. They head off on mentorships twice a week. They are able to acquire many different abilities and options out of the community. And we support students throughout the year in terms of understanding the RISEC, understanding interest walls. We do career explorations. We do resumes and virtual mentorships. We do elevator pitches and work-based fairs. And by February, our students head off to where they leave twice a week off into the community to build mentorships. And so far this season, we've had 193 students total in our school. 95 of them were able to land a mentorship on their own. That's a huge success rate for our 2nd year. As we go and look at goal 5 and think through next steps, the key here for us is knowing our students really well. Building strong relationships and understanding that every single student is a pathway that is unique to themselves, and we need to ensure that they're supported through all of it. So I'm very thankful to the board and cabinet for your continued support throughout our work at Bostonia and ensuring that every single student is known, is cared for, and has a voice here in Cajon Valley. Thank you.
That was pretty good.
Yeah, that was fast.
That was pretty impressive, though. I enjoy the
So I just want to recognize Bostonia. A lot of our interns were recognized today at the city council meeting and were honored, so congratulations. 11 of our students had internships with the city, and so really exciting the pathways that we're creating for our students.
Good job, Julia. Julia.
Thank you, Julia.
We can't get it to go up there, so I'll speak to it. You have copies in front of you.
Some of the side conversations are a little distracting and it's hard for the presenter to be heard. Thank you.
Is it on now? This is the opportunity that I could come back to you and share the governor's May revise. The last time we saw it was in January, and it's just kind of a quick synopsis of what's happened since January. As what's happening in January, the revenues are down for the state, so it's gone to about $31 billion right now, shortfall for the state. Some forecasted at $40 billion. So it's the state economy is not looking good right now, and most of that's because the revenues are being down. 50% of our revenues come from our top 1% of our earners, and that's usually through the stock market. As we know, stock market's been down like 20%, so that's leading to a reduced revenue for the state. Good thing about the May revise is there are things that state can do to kind of accommodate a lack of revenue coming in to cover the expenses, and the state has not done some of these, which are harmful to education. One being, we have an educational reserve that was established in times when it get tough, they can draw upon those funds. The state's saying right now, we do not want to do that. We want to wait till it's really needed. It could get worse in the future. Deferrals are when they say that they can't pay us our cash on time. Usually they postpone that year out, which causes cash flow issues with school districts. It's a mechanism to avoid cuts, but it also makes our cash flow difficult. That's not been proposed at all. And then deficit in COLA. In the past, before we had the LCFF and the revenue limit, they used to deficit us, say we cannot pay you, say the 5% COLA, and they can only afford 3%, they would deficit us, but then they owe us that money in the future. Right now, under the LCFF, that's not a requirement any longer, so it is a concern going forward that they could deficit us our COLA and never see that money come to us. However, it's not a proposal right now that's coming from the state. So what's happened since January? COLA has gone up. 8.22% is the COLA that's been finalized. So I'm telling you about a $31 billion shortfall in the state and an all-time high COLA for education. So it doesn't seem like it makes sense going together. But the state right now, the governor and the legislature is proposing to fund the full COLA, 8.22%. So that's excellent news. How he's doing that is the governor's proposing to cut some of our block grants from this year, pretty significantly, $1.8 billion from our arts and music, and $2.5 billion from our learning recovery emergency block grant. It's interesting because it's one-time savings to fund an ongoing COLA, which is something we never would do here as a school district. That's the recommendations from the state currently to bridge that gap. Along with COLA, besides our local control funding formula, some programs that get that are special education, state preschool, child nutrition, they'd all get the same 8.22% COLA. As I said, the proposal is to cut those two block grants. The problem is that money has been given to school districts, plans have been developed, and then now they want to pull those back, which is not something you typically do when you fund budgets. So we'll have to see how that plays out. There are large cuts by the governor proposed. The legislature's already come out with their agreed upon budget as well, and it's significantly less reductions in those areas. But the governor has to agree to the final budget, so we'll see where those come out. But the good news is the legislature is not necessarily supporting all the governor's cuts that he's proposing. The big thing this year too is Proposition 28, the voters passed in November for arts programs. Unfortunately, this was passed in November and the state has given us no direction on what that means, dollars, budget codes, anything like that. So we're progressing very slowly just to make sure we're not violating anything that could harm us in the future. The biggest thing there is supplanting versus supplement. So they want you to supplement, add more programs, and not basically move money from one program and use this new funding. So we have to be cautious because once you move forward with a new position, then we can't take that away in the future if we did it wrong. So we're cautiously approaching that. It may be a year out for some sites before using that money, but the money carries over and it's not lost. ELOP was another big program that the governor started this year. No proposed cuts there, which is good news. There's audit findings potentially next year, so we have to make sure all of our programs are in line and done correctly so we don't have any financial penalties. But the good news is there's no cuts to ELOP proposed. Universal Transitional Kindergarten is the next big program that's started. That again is fully funded. So you see a kind of sense here. No reductions, but no new programs either. So we're going to phase 2 for next year, where I usually have 4-year-olds who turn 5 by April 2nd, and it's a 4-year transition plan. The government is fully funding that cost to pay for those students who now are coming as 4-year-olds. And also the ratio is a 12-to-1 ratio. It did call for a 10-to-1 ratio if the budget allowed. The budget is not allowing that right now, so the proposal is to stick to a 12-to-1 ratio. So basically, it's 2 people in the classrooms for those young kids. So basically now the next steps is the legislature has to work together with the governor to come up with a final budget. I anticipate Thursday the legislature passing their budget, beneath the statutory June 15th guidelines, and then the governor has to come with his budget by June 30th. And I anticipate on-time budgets because they do not get paid if they don't pass the budget. So I do think we'll have on time. And right now, the COLA, I'm anticipating being fully funded at 8.22%. That's pretty much it. Any questions from the board?
Stick figure of Gavin Newsom.
Oh, gosh, I need a hair.
That's my question.
It's a little comedy sketch because nobody likes making tough decisions from the state. And so a lot of times they'll like over anticipate revenue or under expenses to make the budget balance. And if it all works out great the next year, everybody's happy, but the problem is it can compound the problem. So if a recession happens, for instance, those could be bad decisions that the state makes, but it's kind of a comedy of what they try to do to balance the budget.
Thanks, Scott.
Thanks, Scott.
Thank you, Scott. I think this is the most you've ever had for a budget meeting.
Next item on the agenda is 7D. It's the second reading of documented board bylaw 9320. Governing board is being presented with the draft of conduct, or to conduct a second reading of the amended board bylaw 9320 meetings and notices. The bylaw is being amended to have one board meeting take place on the first Tuesday of every month. Do you have any questions or comments on that topic?
I have a comment. So since I've been on the board, all of our special meetings typically occurred in the middle of the day while our staff are at work, parents are, usually bridging across the time where parents have to pick up kids. So I know we talked about if we need to have an extra meeting a certain month because the agenda is heavy, I would like some stipulation in there that our special board meetings aren't done in the middle of the day where it makes it impossible for especially our staff, they just have no way to get here or to call in and make public comment on Zoom anymore. And then the parents, they make accommodations where they can, but then oftentimes, they're, having to rush off to pick up kids before I've seen it where they can't make public comment. They fill out a speaker card and then they have to leave to go pick up their children. So in those months where the agenda's heavy and we decide to have an additional meeting or a special meeting, I'm not sure what we'd call it, can we stipulate that those happen, at 5:30 p.m. on a Tuesday or something like that?
Other comments? So to respond to you, Anthony, first and foremost is you're well aware a message goes out to all the board, try to accommodate staff as well as board, and those meetings have ranged anywhere from noon opportunities to evening opportunities. If we're gonna have a special meeting, typically a special meeting requires some sort of urgency to it, which is not always convenient to or conducive to, we'll do it on 5:30 on a Tuesday. So a special meeting in that meeting where we have to have an urgency associated with it, I wouldn't think that, take to be a proposed modification would be appropriate. To the extent that we can't accommodate it, doesn't mean we don't try. Okay, it doesn't. With regard to any sort of additional meeting that could be prearranged and established, I absolutely would believe that we could do that on a Tuesday particularly and after work particularly. So I think we need to make sure that we have our definitions down. Or if it's a special meeting and we need to call a somewhat urgent meeting on a particular topic, that's gonna have to be when we can get a quorum. First rule is you gotta have a quorum. Get a quorum of the board members together along with the cabinet. As far as if we determine that an additional meeting is required that allows us time to plan, then I would personally accept that modification to the overall concept of our reading.
I agree with that, and I meant additional meeting, but I misspoke with special meeting. I can get the difference now. Thank you.
Not a problem. Board, any questions with those two definitions? Does it make sense to everybody? With that, and we'll make the adjustment to the bylaw. David, is this a call for a vote? So second reading, we don't need a third. We'll call for the vote then. Motion by Karen, second by Joe. Please vote.
The purple vote.
Oh. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any nay? None. Passes 5-0. At this point, we'll go into the public hearings. However, I would like Juliana to please translate my preamble comments into Arabic for Arabic-speaking attendees, please.
Good evening everyone. مرحبا بجماعتنا اللي يحكون بس عربي. بس بدنا نقول لكم هاليوم هواي بالسوشيال ميديا كانوا منزلين انه راح نصوت اليوم على قرار انه اذا الطفل يريد يغير الجنس من بنت الى ولد الى بنت، اذا الاهل ما قبلوا يعترضون. هذا الشيء مو موجود عندنا اليوم بالاجنده، ما داخل اي شيء، بس الموضوع موجود حاليا. اكو تيم وراكم وانتم ضده، موجود هذا الموضوع، بس اليوم ما راح نصوت على اي شيء. هم هنا على موضوع صار قبل فتره بس. وشيء راح اريد اوضحه بس بالعربي اللي يحكون بس عربي. اريد اقول لكم يم الباب ما يصير نوقف، لازم نخلي فراغ بليز. اذا اجى احد نتحاسب كلنا لهنا اذا يبقى مسدود قدام الباب. ثانك يو.
So going into the public hearings, what we do is we have public hearings associated with our presentations. So at this point in time, we're going to go into our LCAP. So Education Code Section 52060 requires the governing board to adopt a local control and accountability plan following a public hearing on or before July 1st, 2023. A public hearing is being held at tonight's governing board meeting with the adoption at the June 27th, 2023 regular board meeting. So we open the public hearing. There's no speaker cards on the agenda. We now close the public hearing. There we go. Moving over to Bostonia Global's LCAP. In Education Code Section 52060 requires the governing board to adopt a local control and accountability plan following a public hearing on or before July 1, 2023. A public hearing is being held at tonight's governing board meeting with adoption at the June 27th, 2023 board meeting. That we will open. No speaker cards. Closed. Moving now to the proposed adopted budgets for Cajon Valley Unified School District, Bostonia Global Charter School. Coming down. The date of June 13, 2023 has been established as the public hearing date for the Cajon Valley Union School Districts and Bostonia Global School Districts Fund 09, 2023-2024 annual budgets. The budget was made available for public review on June 8, 2023, to provide an opportunity for interested persons to review the proposed annual budget and provide input prior to the adoption of the budget on June 27, 2023. The public review period was published in East County, California. The proposed annual budgets are available to view at cajonvalley.net, page 125. There's some hashtags in there. Through the public inspection period. The proposed 2023 and 2024 budget and statements of reason for assigned and unassigned ending fund balance in excess of the minimum reserve standard are available for review by interested parties at the June 13th, 2023 meeting. The governing board must conduct a public hearing to take input from the public regarding the 2023-2024 proposed adopted budget. We now open the hearing. No speaker cards. We now close the hearing. Coming down to 8D. A public hearing was scheduled at the governing board meeting on May 23rd, 2023 regarding Cajon Valley Union School District and Cajon Valley Education Association's initial contract bargaining proposal for the 2023 and 2024 school year. It is recommended the governing board conduct the public hearing as is scheduled. We will now open the hearing. No speaker cards, comments. We will close the hearing. Moving down to E. A public hearing was scheduled at the governing board meeting on May 23rd, 2023 regarding the Cajon Valley Union School District and California School Employees Association and its Chapter 179 CSEA initial contract bargaining proposal for the 2023 and 2024 school year. It is recommended that the governing board conduct the public hearing as scheduled. We will hereby open the meeting. Hearing. No speaker cards. We will now close the hearing. We now move down to 9A. It is recommended that the governing board approve the recommendation to the administrative hearing panel in the matter of student 2022-2023 AH number 12. Do we have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Karen, second by Joe. Any discussion? Please vote. Matter passes 5-0. Coming down to B. It is recommended that the governing board approve the recommendation of the administrative hearing panel in the matter of student 2022-2023 AH 13. We have a motion.
Motion.
Motion by Joe.
Second.
Second by Juliana. Please vote. Matter passes 5-0. Coming down to 9C. It is recommended that the governing board approve the recommendations of the readmission hearing panel in the matter of student 2022-2023 RH03. We have a motion.
Motion.
Motion by Karen.
Second.
Second by Juliana. Please vote. Matter passes 5-0.
Sorry, I changed my vote and it didn't register. That was a no for me.
Matter passes 4-1 with trustee Carnevale voting no. You got it? Okay.
Okay.
All right. Moving to the next matter, it is recommended that the governing board approve the recommendations of the readmission hearing panel in the matter of student 2022-2023 RH04. Motions?
Motion.
Motion by Karen, second by Juliana. Please vote. The matter passes 5-0. Coming to the next matter is E. It is recommended that the governing board approve the recommendations of readmission hearing panel in the matter of student 2022-2023 RH05. Motions? Motion by Juliana. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Karen. Please vote.
Sorry, that's my favorite sound ever.
Matter passes 5-0. Turning down to item F, it is recommended that the governing board approve the recommendations of the readmission hearing panel in the matter of student 2022-2023 RH06. Do we have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Karen, second by Juliana. Please vote. Matter passes 5-0. Coming down to the last, item 9G. It is recommended that the governing board approve the recommendations of the readmission hearing panel in the matter of student 2022-2023 RH07. Do we have a motion? Motion by Juliana. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Joe. Please vote. Matter passes 5-0. We now come down to the consent items. We do have a speaker card on the consent agenda. Would Mike Castellini please approach the podium? Yes. Mr. Castellini, welcome. If you'll give us one moment to put the timer up on the board, once it starts, you're on.
Thank you, board. My name is Mike Castellini. I'm a father of four. My oldest son goes to Blossom Valley Elementary School. And for everything, it's
Speak into the mic, we
can you hear me? Is that better?
I don't know if it's on.
Loud. I'll just yell. No. I'll speed it up for you. Better? Okay. We're here to address a matter that weighs heavily on all of our hearts. And there's external organizations that are obviously affiliated with schools and school boards, YMCA and HRC, and establishing relations with our children without necessary parental consent or involvement. And the parent and child relationship is sacred. It's built on trust. We spend the most time with our kids, and recent developments have raised concerns about these organizations seeking to bypass that relationship, where the communication isn't as fundamental to them between the parents. The role of parents in their child's lives. It's vital that we maintain open lines of communication and transparency between our schools, parents, and partner organizations. It is essential that the role of the parent is respected. as we are the primary educators and guardians of our children. Parental consent and involvement should always be a cornerstone in any interaction or program involving our children, and together we must foster an environment where parents are informed, respected, and actively engaged in their child's education and well-being. By working collaboratively, we can ensure that external organizations support our efforts rather than undermine the vital parent-to-child relationship. Thank you to the school board for valuing the importance of our time and the parental involvement in our children. Let us continue to ensure that our children's education and experience are guided by love, wisdom, and the values that parents instill from them at an early age. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
All right, we don't have any additional speakers on the consent items. Mr. Castellani, thanks. Mr. Castellini, thank you for speaking. With that, board, we have the consent agenda. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I would like to pull the minutes for separate comment or discussion, and I can make it really quick if the formal pulling of them isn't.
Is there minutes aren't to be pulled to have a conversation about them. Minutes are to be pulled if there's an error in them. Is there something we need to correct?
I just want to comment that on the entire time I've been on this board and all of the minutes in the past that I've looked at, these are the most thorough minutes, so thank you, Karen, for that. They're awesome, and I encourage anyone to read our past board meeting minutes.
With Anthony's kudos to Karen, we will vote. Do we have a motion now? Motion by Juliana. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Karen. Please vote. Consent passes 5-0. Moving to the action items. Going to 11A. It is recommended that the governing board approve amendment number 2 to the employment agreement with David Miyashiro, our superintendent. Do we have a motion? Oh, we do. All right. 11A, we have 2 speaker cards. Thank you. If Jason Kaminsky will please take the mic, and then right behind him, David, you can just sit where you're at and for program. Mr. Kaminsky, same as the last speaker, the timer will start behind us and then you're ready to go.
Good evening, board. My name is Jason Kaminsky. I'm a parent of Blossom Valley and Los Coaches Creek Middle School. My comment is just making sure that I didn't miss anything in previous minutes. The section of the amendment for term of employment, so that'd be section 1 in the amendment that you're looking at tonight, says that an additional year can be added, can be extended, subject to the superintendent's receiving a satisfactory evaluation by the board. I'm not sure if I've seen in previous minutes if that's occurred. I know it would occur in closed session, but I haven't seen a report come out. As well as an open session, a subsequent goals for the upcoming year at an open session should be announced as well. And that is pursuant to board's policy 2140, evaluation of the superintendent. There's a formalized process there, and if I'm incorrect, then I stand corrected. I just want to make sure that we don't do a rubber stamp here. Just want to make sure we're following and ensuring that we're following the policies of the board. And if that evaluation hasn't been fulfilled as it's supposed to be, I would request that the board consider tabling this item until the formal evaluation has been completed. Thank you.
Good evening, board. I'm
David,
David.
hold on, we gotta reset that timer for you.
Okay. I was gonna use that time too.
He didn't see it, so what can I say?
Can I buy it 5 minutes?
Ready?
Ready when you are. I'm here representing East County Citizens Oversight Group. I want to thank everybody for being here. Everybody here. I want to open with reading the preamble to the Brown Act. Boards, councils, and other legislative bodies of local governments, agencies exist to aid in the conduct of the people's business. The people do not yield their sovereignty to the bodies that serve them. The people insist on remaining informed to retain control over the legislative bodies that they have created. That's our process in this country. We live by this book right here, the Constitution of the United States. We, the people, are the ones that oversee everybody. Yeah. These are our representatives right here that we elect to represent us. They are here to oversee the superintendent, but all of these people in the back all work for us. The superintendent works for us. They represent us. So I think it's very important that when we evaluate the superintendent who's running everything.
David, do you speak in the mic?
Okay.
There are people on Zoom.
Well, I like to get a little so anyways, I believe that we should have it agendized so the people have a proper opportunity to address the evaluation of the superintendent. Just as we get to evaluate you guys every time that the election comes up. So I think it should be put on the agenda for public comment and see exactly how the public feels about the evaluation process. But I want to thank everybody for being here. It's incredible to have a turnout like this. And for all of your signs back there, there's no fake. There's acceptance for Well, they're my people back there.
Yeah, we're not in your living room.
Right. Well, I only got 37 seconds left, and it's dwindling. But I just want to see everybody work for the best interests of the children. And this is everybody there.
Board moving back to 11A, do we have a motion?
I would motion to table this amend employment agreement of the superintendent until we've completed the formal evaluation of the superintendent.
That would presuppose that it hasn't happened, Anthony, which would be a discussion not for public. Nonetheless.
Well, it hasn't been on any agenda.
If you have moved to table, is there a second to table? Hearing none, the motion dies. Do we have a motion to accept 11A?
Motion to accept.
Motion by Joe.
Second.
Second by Karen. Please vote.
Discussion. I would like to pull out.
We will have discussion.
Okay, thank you. And I'll hand these out to each board member so we can follow along. So in the past 2 years, when we've done an evaluation of the superintendent in 2021 and 2022, the evaluation of the superintendent showed up on the agenda. There has been no such listing of an agenda item in the entire time I've been on the board. So our board policy 2140, I've highlighted some relevant sections. The governing board recognizes that it must adopt measures for holding the superintendent accountable. At a minimum, the board shall annually conduct a formal evaluation of the superintendent's performance to assess his or her effectiveness in leading the district toward established goals. Evaluation criteria shall be agreed upon by the board and superintendent prior to the evaluation and shall include, but not be limited to, the district goals and success indicators, educational management, and community leadership skills in the superintendent's professional relationship with the board. The board and superintendent shall jointly determine the evaluation methods and schedule that will best serve the district in the structure and format of the instrument to be used. Prior to the evaluation, the superintendent shall provide to the board for its review a report of progress toward district goals, the superintendent's self-appraisal of accomplishments and performance, and a statement of actions taken to address any board recommendation from the previous evaluation. Each board member shall independently evaluate the superintendent's performance. Based on these individual evaluations, the board president shall produce a document that summarizes the individual evaluations. The board shall then take action on this document and present it to the superintendent for his or her response. The board shall meet in closed session with the superintendent to discuss the evaluation. The superintendent shall have an opportunity to ask questions, respond verbally and in writing to the evaluation, and present additional evidence of his or her performance or district progress. After the board and superintendent have discussed the evaluation, the board president and superintendent shall sign the evaluation, and it shall be placed in the superintendent's personnel file. At the open session after the superintendent's evaluation or at a subsequent meeting, the board and superintendent shall jointly identify performance goals for the next year. We've not had a report out of closed session jointly identifying performance goals for the following year. So when did the evaluation of the superintendent happen?
Good question.
Good question.
Who are you asking the question of?
I'm asking the question of the board because it's not on any of our agendas. So when did it happen? The formal evaluation.
You sat in the meeting when there was an evaluation, Anthony, that we will tread lightly upon, which involved the board and the superintendent. I know what you said, and I know the box that you checked. I don't know where else you'd like to go with that.
Was evaluation of the superintendent on the agenda for the public? It has been in the past 2 years, and it wasn't on the agenda this year.
That wasn't the first question you asked. I've answered the first question for you on behalf of the board. With regard to your second question, would have been fantastic perhaps to bring this up, a month ago. But the evaluation has already taken place for this particular.
It would have been
process.
fantastic if the superintendent did the prerequisite requirements and sent and notified us a month ago, and if the public had the opportunity to know that there was an evaluation of the superintendent taking place. It also would have been proper if the board and superintendent jointly identified the performance goals for the next year at the open session after the superintendent's evaluation. Has that occurred? Yes, I will say that I'm inclined to vote no on this, and if the board votes yes, I think we will effectively be enacting a violation of the Brown Act because we did not give the public the opportunity to comment on the evaluation of the superintendent as we have in 2022 and 2021 when the evaluation of the superintendent showed up on our agendas. I'm not sure why it didn't this time. I'll chalk it up to an oversight, but I'll be voting no.
Yay, thank
With just read on all these comments, there's a vote before us. Please vote.
Remember, we elect you. Yep. And a whole lot of us are paying attention now. A lot of people.
And the matter passes 4-1. Moving to 11B. It is recommended that the governing board approve amendment number 2 to the employment contract with John McGurk, Chief Technology Officer. Do we have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Karen. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Anthony. Any discussion? Hearing none, we will vote. Passes 5-0. Next, moving to item 11C. It is recommended that the governing board approve amendment number 2 to the employment agreement with Karen Minshew, Assistant Superintendent of Educational Services. Do we have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Karen. Second. Second by, we'll give it to Anthony. Any discussion, comments? Please vote. Passes 5-0. Moving to D. It is recommended that the governing board approve amendment number 2 to the employment agreement with Michelle Hayes, Assistant Superintendent of Personnel Services. Do we have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Joe. Second?
Second.
Second by Karen. Any discussion? Please vote. Passes 5-0. Moving to item E. It is recommended that the governing board approve amendment number 2 to the employment agreement with Scott Bushbaum, Assistant Superintendent of Business Services. Do we have a motion?
Motion.
Moved by Joe. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Karen. Discussion? Please vote. And the matter passes 5-0. Moving down to award of bid. It is recommended that the governing board award bid 1604, catering of hot and served pizzas to Domino's Pizza as the lowest responsible bidder, meeting specifications, and authorize staff to execute necessary paperwork. I will say that I know I have mentioned before that when we're voting on food items, samples. Samples. This room would love pizza right now. With that, motion by Karen. Second. Second by Juliana. Please vote. The matter passes 5-0. Moving now to the next item, item G. It is recommended that the governing board reject the Good Air v. Cajon Valley Union School District claim. Do we have a motion on this matter?
Motion.
Motion by Joe. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Karen. Any discussion? Hearing none, please vote. Matter passes 5-0. Moving to item 11H. It is recommended that the governing board renew the agreement with the YMCA for schools to participate in the 2023-2024 outdoor education programs. Do we have a motion?
Motion to adopt.
Motion by Karen. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Joe. Discussion.
I have some comments here. I know Trustee or President Miller, we had asked that when we renew this contract with the YMCA that parents be given prior notification of camp policies as they pertain to their children, and then also the notification of the names of the camp counselors who would be spending the night with children of the parents at 6th grade camp. Has that, and I'll direct the question to the superintendent, what was the response to that? I don't see it in the agreement.
YMCA policies align with state law and district policies. They always have. I met with the CEO of the YMCA and staff, and we discussed procedures to make sure that our kids felt safe and comfortable. We discussed creating a separate Dropbox so that as teachers receive the students at the end of a hike, that if students have concerns, they can drop them anonymously to teachers. they could follow up anonymously, all the things that we discussed with our LCC staff. What I will say is that earlier in the agenda, the board approved a grant from the YMCA and the San Diego Foundation to provide free swimming lessons to students of Lexington and Cajon Valley Middle School, a practice that predates me. The YMCA has provided childcare for our employees when we've had district events. They expanded our campuses during COVID when we needed to distance learn, allowed us access to their campuses and their pools. And our teachers, for as long as any of us currently on cabinet know, have been choosing the YMCA 6th grade camp as the preferred choice based on options, activities, and the high quality of care. What a yes vote means is we're saying that the teachers of Cajon Valley Middle School, Crest School, Las Cochas Creek School, Montgomery School, and Narenka have the trust of the board and cabinet to take care of, provide educational experiences, and ensure the safety of our students.
Thank you, Superintendent, for that explanation. Back to the parental notification component that the board asked for. Will parents be notified of the names of those camp counselors that they'll be with, similar to how they would know the names of their teachers? And also with the policies that govern overnight camp be shared with parents prior to? Those are my two questions.
The executive directors overseeing, but not the camp counselors. No, that's not their practice.
So no provision of names to parents prior to sending their kids up to 6th grade camp?
They meet our 6th grade teachers and they meet prior to, so yes, there is collaboration.
So the names would be provided to the parents? I don't see it in the agreement here. And also, I think it's important to mention, we had 9 children come back from 6th grade camp describing traumatic experiences. So I don't want that point to be lost over.
The kids should matter.
Yep.
All right, couple of things. One, Anthony and I are in agreement on a lot of what he just stated. Certainly with the YMCA camp and what happened last year or this most recent academic year is concerning. Same point in time, for those of you that were here, not all of you were, because this is the case we never seen. We had a very, very in-depth evaluation and investigation conducted, both by staff as well as the YMCA. A lot of concerns were addressed. Some were legit, some were not. That's the way it goes. That's par for the course, especially on my experience. I do believe that the options presented to staff who select the YMCA, remember, it's a selection process. It's not mandated. The staff is selecting these YMCA camps for these particular activities. They could have selected a different camp or not. I also believe that the YMCA and the current atmosphere and the current environment is going to dot every I and cross every T and make sure that they do the job right and report back to us. Because if it happens, anything happens again, anything, there's going to be an issue. Because there is an issue. So
There is an issue. The fact that the YMCA refuses to provide any of their policies, and I'm told it has refused to provide the names of camp counselors, so I'm still unclear on that.
the camp counselor issue, I personally would like to see the camp counselor name myself. I agree with you on that.
That's right.
Well, conversely, it's not our organization, and there are certain rights to privacy that people have, and organizational protocols that fall. There's a balance. This is not a call and response. It is not. There's a balancing of factors. There is. So, these schools have selected to use the YMCA program. Other schools have not. I don't think in their evaluations based upon what's going on, that our particular involvement should override their on-the-ground decision-making. That's what I thought. But it is their decision making, and we are therefore giving them the right to make those decisions.
Why?
Because they are on the ground to do so.
Our on-the-ground decision-making as a board is to approve or not approve this contract. The YMCA has chosen to refuse to provide the names of camp counselors for parents. It's called outdoor education. We pay a per pupil price. They are governed by the laws of the state of California, and guess what? Parents get to know the names of their teachers. The camp counselors, it's just a first and last name. There's no privacy concern there, and I think we should stipulate that.
And again, I do not disagree with you. I don't. Same point in time, I'm seeing it from a slightly different lens. Not much, but slightly. But that's my opinion, right? So I only have one vote on this board. It'll be up to three out of five to pass it or not. So with that said, is there any additional comment by any of the other trustees? No?
I think we have to also take into consideration that their teachers are also there. So that is a precursor of understanding who their students are, that extra measure, that extra buffer of safety. And these are the teachers that know them best at the campsites that they will be attending. So given these 5 schools the autonomy to choose which camp that they go to, they don't have to choose Camp Marston, and you don't have to send your kids to camp if you don't choose.
Joe, excellent point. Ultimately, the consumer gets the vote.
Why are you sexualizing camp and cheering for that?
All right, we will call for the vote. Please vote. Matter passes 3-2. Moving to item I, it is recommended that the governing board award bid 1609 by line item to the lowest responsible bidders as outlined. Authorize staff to approve necessary change orders, subject to ratification, and accept the project upon completion. Do we have a motion? Motion by Juliana, do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Joe. Any discussion? Please vote. Matter passes 5-0. Moving to item J. It is recommended that the governing board approve architectural and engineering services by HED for additional classroom and restroom facilities at listed schools, and authorize staff to execute necessary documents. Do we have a motion? Motion by Karen. Do we have a second? Second by Juliana. Any discussion? Please vote. Matter passes 5-0. Coming down to item K. It is recommended that the governing board approve architectural and engineering services by Runa Clark Architects for the Crest Drainage Repair Project. Do we have a motion? Motion by Juliana. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Joe. Any questions or discussion?
I just want to clarify, this is to do the work or design the work, or both?
To design the work.
Okay.
Any other questions? Please vote. the matter passes 5-0. Coming down to L, it is recommended that the governing board authorize staff to award bid 1606, carpet cleaning project, upon opening to the lowest responsible bidders, with ratification at a subsequent board meeting, to include change orders, subject to ratification, and to accept the project upon completion. Do we have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Karen, do we have a second? Second by Joe. Any questions? Please vote. Matter passes 5-0. Moving to letter M. It is recommended that the governing board adopt the attached resolution to approve use of PPM contract number 535122 to purchase polychrome equipment and other potential future technology related to purchases as needed. Do we have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Joe. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Karen. Questions? Please vote. Matter passes 5-0. Coming down to letter N. It is recommended that the governing board approve district membership in the by-board purchasing cooperative and adopt the attached resolution to approve the use of by-board contract number 661-22 to purchase audio codes, phone equipment, and other potential future technology related to purchases as needed. Do we have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Joe. Second?
Second.
Second by Karen. Questions? Please vote. Matter passes 5-0. Last item on the action item. It's recommended that the governing board adopt the board meeting schedule for 2024. Do we have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Juliana. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Joe. Questions or discussion?
I'm just wondering, I think this was a duplicate from last meeting? No, this isn't? Okay. They all are looking alike, our schedules, so.
Well, we have left. So, please vote. Matter passes 5-0. Now going to communications 12A. Karen, do we have a moment of silence needed? Done this evening? Michelle on retirements.
We do. We have 4 retirements to announce this evening, 2 of which I happen to see in the audience are here tonight. One I'm super sad to share is one of our very own CVEA bargaining chairs for many, many, many years. Michelle Towns is retiring. Michelle has been with the district for 29 years, and I think 28 and a half of them were staff active. 30 years. Valerie Lynch is also here with us tonight. Valerie has been with us for 27 years and is currently at Greenfield as an English teacher. So congratulations, Valerie and Michelle. Joan Lovelace, a paraeducator of Blossom Valley is retiring after 17 years of service with us. And Michelle Yantos, our student data technician at Montgomery, is retiring after 25 years of service with us. Some really fabulous educators that I know have contributed their heart and soul to the district, and we wish you a fabulous retirement.
Absolutely, thank you for the story.
And please come back with a sub for us. We need
Sub one. All right, folks, now we're going to the public participation part of the show. With all of the, again, we have over 30 cards. If you do not want to speak and I call your name, just let us know, we'll put it to the side. Otherwise, this is what we're going to do. We're going to call about 5 at a time. The first person called, please take a seat at the microphone. Folks here in the middle sitting down, if I could please have you move some way because I'm going to line up the next 4 people behind them. Since we're going 1 minute in increments, we want to make sure that we can reset quickly, please. All right, so. First 5. Marcy of Taxpayers Oversight. Chrissy. Anna Holmes. Andy Acevas. And Mary Davis. You will be our first 5 speakers this evening. A couple of points for everybody. 1, during public participation, the board does not interact. We can't, by policy, respond to your comments. Now, we have a board session at the end where we get to have certain comments that are supposed to be focused on what we've done and so forth, but sometimes the board members can at least respond to you, depending upon whether you want to stay. There are no obligations to stay after you speak, number 1. Number 2, try to keep the time, and I apologize for shortening it just based upon the number of speakers. It's better that everybody gets a chance to say something than not. With that said, also, number of us will take notes while you speak. We do not mean any manner of rudeness by not looking you in the eye. I will try to look up when I can, but I am taking notes, so I know what was said and I keep a journal of it. With those preambles out of the way, Marcy.
First, Trustee Carnevale is a champion for the kids. As a taxpayer, I love how he analyzes programs and where grant money comes from. You are a treasure to this school district, sir.
Amen.
To transgender kids, as a mom and also a member of Gays Against Groomers, forgive me for being crude, but when someone pushes a lifestyle like religious fanatics, it's created division and death. Today we are divided. Reel in your supporters, fly American and California flags only, and tone it down. Many of your supporters mean well, but others are evil. Remember the vaccine that prevented you from getting or spreading COVID? Big Pharma made over $50 billion and now they're after you. Each child fully transitioned is worth $1.2 million to Big Pharma and doctors.
Nope. So, this is what we're going to do.
Listen to the transitioners.
Marcy. Thank you. We're going to follow, folks. We're going to be polite. We're going to listen. You have the tolerance and acceptance for those of us that have differences of opinion. Right? Works both ways. So, we are going to be polite as the person at the microphone has the floor for the 60 seconds that they have it. We can all hold our tongue for 60 seconds. Marcy, thank you. One-time source.
Hello, I'm a parent at Blossom Valley and Las Vegas Creek, and I just wanted to thank the board again for voting down the sex ed curriculum. that included links to outside organizations. My son is currently in sex ed now at Las Vegas Creek, and I am very happy with the program that's being taught there. And I think that something like that to continue is not a bad thing. And it helps create a community where our voices are heard and our kids are protected, and just the people in this room and not outside organizations and stuff have contact with our kids. I know you guys were talking about the YMCA and that you trust the teachers and this and that, and I agree to that to a certain extent. However, if there's something in the literature they're going off to an outside website, we no longer have control, whether it's the parents, the teachers, or this board. So please hold the line and keep that sex curriculum out of our schools. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Anna Holmes, and I am happy to say that tomorrow is Flag Day. This is the day that we get to speak and celebrate our flag, which was put into tomorrow's our holiday approximately 100 years ago. The idea that we have this red, white, and blue was to celebrate the things that we, this country, have done. I'm asking that the Cajon School Board please ensure that the teachers instruct, respect, and honor the U.S. flag, our American history, and also the Constitution. Also, well, on the subject of the Constitution Day comes up on September 17th, and it is a Sunday, but I'm asking you all to put that week prior as a week of learning the Constitution. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Andy Aceves.
One moment. Thanks, sir.
It's still Andy Aceves. Now, okay. And I'm a retired educator, 2008 California Teacher of the Year. And to be quite honest, this is kind of heartbreaking because it sounds like we have teachers versus families. And we've never done that. That's always been our, we advocate for our families. And I've always thought of them as allies. And as an educator, I'm well aware of the abundance of curriculum and responsibilities that we have to juggle. A familiar lament amongst teachers is we don't have enough time. Public education's purpose is to educate our children and prepare them to be successful citizens. In the last few years, our students have experienced significant losses, and though teachers have worked hard to diligently bridge that gap, the district still has some ways to go. I suggest that we focus on the needs of our kids and that we take out all the distractions that prevent us from being purposeful in our lives.
Mary Davis, good evening. A big congratulations first to the district teachers, staff, and students on the great strides they made academically this past year per the LCAP report. Also a big thank you to the governing board for not adopting the controversial sex ed curriculum. Greatly appreciated and supported by many. I came tonight out of concern of a troubling trend that I'm seeing with a unique perspective of having watched it play out in another district, Chula Vista Elementary. What started out as a supposed bid for tolerance quickly morphed into promotion. Subsequent expansive actions were not organic, but orchestrated. And so to many of us, the trend is a big concern, which is why we are here tonight. Reference camp and the ability to pull your kid out. Remember, that also goes parental choice for districts, that parents can vote with their feet. So I would urge you to have caution and find balance on this issue. Lastly, with 200 or 300 of us here, I'm sorry, Fire Marshal, only 100 of us, okay. Lastly, I challenge every passionate activist here to call or email Governor Newsom.
I apologize, time is hit.
Okay, anyway, 916.
Next to the microphone. Nabil David will stand behind her. Rafiq Bouzras, stand behind Stephen Nassou, behind him. And I believe it's, I apologize if I mixed this up, Sarah Ackerman would be the next person after. Those will be our next 5 speakers. Once the clock starts, please begin.
I just want to start by saying in no way, shape, or form do I hate any of you at all. I have gay family, I have gay friends, and I love every single last one of them, and I support them. I do not support this curriculum or anything else you people are trying to push in the schools. Yes. Most of you are teachers. You have a 30% proficiency rate in reading and math, yet you're exerting your energy to come here and promote sexualization in classrooms. And these hell are your priorities. Where are they? Get your agendas out of the classrooms and back onto their reading and their math, because they're failing and it's your fault. And you only have yourselves to blame. You only have yourselves to blame. 30%. 30%.
Right now, that's not right. That's nuts. Freedom of speech, girl. They took a dad out, a parent, a family member out because he was clapping.
So is everybody else in the red?
Yeah.
As parents, we expect you to respect 2 documents. One is the birth certificate, and not for reasons that you may think. A second is the Constitution. Number 1, on those birth certificates, ideally list parents. Parents who are given the rights and responsibilities to govern what happens, especially with the education of their children. Number 2, the Constitution, and our first and foremost rights under the First Amendment, which is the freedom of our religions to raise our children within those religions, and other parents get to raise their children under their religions or lack thereof. Under our religions, our fellow Christians do not hate anyone. Unfortunately, as evidenced by the staff, teachers, union members in this room, these people are combative against parents. And you need to wake up to this, and it needs to stop.
When the time starts.
My name is Rafi Petros. I am a member in Chaldean community, and I'm talking about AB 957. So the children cannot make decision of marriage and cannot make decision of working in a professional place. They cannot be responsible of themselves or the family. They cannot take even medicine without the parent permission. So how child can make this big decision to change his gender from male or to female or female to male? We are fine. Our community are fine. Why? Because we raise our children in love, the love that came from the Bible. Because God says, love others. We are loved, all people, even these people. We are loved regarding the gender and the race. Please keep our community safe.
I am Stephen Nisu, and I am here on behalf of the St. Peter's Chaldean Catholic Diocese, which represents 4 churches in East County and a major population here in Cajon. I am a father of 2 girls, community catechist, religion teacher for 25 years, a deacon, a youth leader, and a former Cajon Valley student. I would like to start by saying we love all people and we respect all people, and that is what Christian is all about. We accept all, no hating, no matter what color you are. As a Chaldean Catholic, I take my culture and religion very seriously, and what my kids are taught are very seriously. I want our voices to be heard with regards to how our schools have become so open and our curriculum so open. I teach purity, chastity, and abstinence to all my students. We appreciate our school board and all the staff and teachers that work in our district and serve our community. But now we are...
Hi, I'm Sarah Ackerman. I'm a retired psychiatric nurse, and my concern is the medical well-being of these students and the effects of the medications and the surgeries on them. And
Please do not interrupt the speaker.
It's a well-known fact the suicide rate in transgenders is higher than the general population. I don't believe that students as young as 5 should be coerced into changing their gender. And parents should be involved in the decision making, because kids are not able to make that decision.
All right, we'll have our next 5 people. Settle, folks. The next person that yells out time and is not a trustee is going to be asked to leave. It's completely rude and inappropriate on both sides. Lee Stewart Barallo, please take the mic, followed by Thomas Barallo, followed by Sam Cosa, followed by Sandy. Sandy, if you want to stay seated, you can do that until your time's called. And then Faraha, is it Cajon? Oh, I got somewhere close to that. I apologize if I did not. Once the time starts.
Hi, my name is Lee. I came here to support my neighbor because my kids are grown and gone and they didn't go through this district of over 18 years. And I'm so grateful that the board voted against adopting California's sex ed. I just don't think that belongs in the schools. I think that's a parent's job. And I thank you for this new member that's doing so well, Anthony Colonel. Keep it up.
Good evening, Board. Tom Morello, 18-year resident of Cajon Valley. My wife and I raised 6 kids together. 2 of them are mine, and my 2 went to 4 schools here in Cajon Valley, and we're very blessed by those 4 schools. I want to thank, I'm a former Citizens Bond Oversight Committee member and member. I want to thank the board for standing firm in East County values at the last vote and not bringing in Sacramento values. And so I heard a discussion from Bostonia Global about making sure that students were loved, cared for, and known that they have support. And I want the board to know that I love you, I care for you, and I support you in supporting us. So thank you very much. I hope that everyone in this room would feel the same way about you adults as they profess to feel about their students. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Sam Kosa, and I thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk to the board here and to everybody in this room. Again, this sign, I like that people have always stopped the hate. We do, as Christian people, we do hate. We do not hate anybody, and I ask any Christian to step away from this idea of hating people who are different than us. As a Christian, we do not hate nobody. And the moment we do that, we step out of our faith.
That's right.
Therefore, we love everybody, but we don't have to agree with everybody.
Right.
We seek truth, and the truth is that we could learn. You're in school. So if it's an issue of biology, study science. Science will tell you what is the truth. It's not by making things politics. Everything is being politicized, and therefore there's disagreement and hate. So if we stick to the science and find out what the truth is, there is no problem. Thank you very much.
Sandy, you want to wait? You want to switch? Okay, go right ahead. Sandy, you'll come next, please.
Go ahead.
Good evening. My name is Zahra Katan. I'm mother for 2 boys and a Cajon girl.
Get closer. Get closer. Yes.
Okay. My name is Zahra Katan. I'm mother for 2 boys in Al Cajon Valley. First of all, I want to say the sign is not right because here we deal as a human only. We love each other, but I don't want my kids because I believe the school is only for education. It's not for another things. Okay, I send my kids for the school just for learn, for math and reading and writing. I leave my country because I want to find a safe place to raise my kids. Why my kids in elementary school need to know about the transgenders? I don't think so. The kids in this age need to know these things. Thank you.
It's been interesting cutting down all I had to say. I'm waiting for this. Okay. I'm Sandy, and I agree with everyone who said it's true. As Christians, we love everybody. We pray for everybody. We pray for all of us to know what is right and what is not. And when prayer was taken out of school and people can believe what they want to believe, the divorce rate, the drug use, the SAT scores, and the teen pregnancies, all those graphs went absolutely crazy. When we're honoring God as a people, with a constitution which is the best in the world, He will honor us. When we're not honoring Him, and there's a question why, when there were 9 children, we just learned from the camp that were very, very unhappy. I heard some of them speaking, and when we're accepting, then we need to accept that 9 children were very unhappy. Why are any children being sent back to that same camp? We need to get away from the
Our next 5 speakers, I believe is Mary Paul.
Me.
Polos. May Polos, please, will be the first. Followed by Mary Ann Ostmeyer. Baha Esman. Emmeline Amhorn. And then Rebecca Winks.
This time for me?
Yes, ma'am. We'll restart it. Yeah, once it starts, you can.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't pay attention.
Hello everyone, my name is May Falls. I really would like to give big thanks to everyone that attended this meeting and to each one of you, and I really thank you for everything you're doing for our children. I would like to thank all the teachers, but I would love to see you coming inside this room with the American flag.
Yes.
The American flag, because your educational, you need to make us like so proud of you. We love all of you, but families and teachers need to work together because the new generation are the leaders. You are teaching the leaders of the United States of America. And please, this subject, I beg every one of you to keep it away from our schools. We need to raise our children our way. You only teach them ABC and the plus and minus, and we thank you so much.
I'll wait until you're silent, please. The adults in this room have a formidable obligation.
We'll restart this clock.
Okay. Speak up, please. I will, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
It's like, can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Are we ready? The adults in this room have a formidable obligation. The educators, union, administrators, parents, and school board members must work together for the common good of the students, our community, country, and world. This means understanding the importance of helping mold our future leaders. Without exposing them to diversity curriculum, we are jeopardizing their future. I ask you all to advance curriculum experiences that will give our kids the ability to survive and excel in the real world. I taught newcomers for many years. It was amazing to see all the kids engaged in cultural fairs and sharing their traditions and customs with one another. With knowledge and exposure come power, understanding, and empathy. After the Civil War, Lincoln asked the people to listen to the better angels of their nature. I am asking everyone in this room the same thing in regard to exposing kids to a curriculum that acknowledges diversity.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Emmy. Seven out of 9 people in my family are part of the LGBT, but the other 2 definitely support it. I fully support LGBTQ and think it's okay to use pronouns like they, them, she, them, and he, them. Schools need to take care of all students, not just the straight cisgender students. I want my family to feel safe, respected, and for all children to feel safe.
You see, she doesn't know how to read.
No. Hold on.
Is that Christian kindness? Is that Christian?
Everybody, calm down. Stop! You're gonna have to please leave.
Please listen and support LGBTQ. Thank you.
few years ago in Alabama, I was interviewed on TV. The reporter asked me if it was easier having a terminally ill child or a transgender child. You see, one of my children is both of those things, terminally ill and transgender. My answer came swiftly and easily. You see, when your child is terminally ill, people line up with casseroles. When they come out as trans, with stones. My child was only 8 at the time, 8 years old. She was going downhill fast, and she wanted her life to mean something. She still does. While her condition will take her from us, she wants to continue the battle. She started when she socially transitioned at 6. While being upset about some books in the library or rainbow flag missing too small, it is in fact a rather big deal. You see, it starts with fear. Fear of our children being seen as other, facing hardships, or being an embarrassment to our circle of friends that often only includes people that think like us. This leads to disparaging comments about
Next person at the mic, Dan and Bickford.
Dan was sitting outside, I don't know if he was or not, they weren't letting him in.
There he is. After that, David, you can just sit where you're at and follow him.
Me?
Yes. Chris, no last name, would be the third. But he's on public comment. After that, Deborah Tolfmeyer. And then Suhail Alas. Dan, when the time starts.
Thank you. And I apologize for standing, but transitions are tough for me. Thank you, Dan Bickford. I love the signs, equality for all, tolerance for all. Do you mean all? No. Or is it that tolerance and equality at the risk of offending someone who's not transgender or gay? Because you won't get any argument from anyone here tonight that we all want acceptance for all, tolerance for all. And yes, you vote with your feet. So, people are leaving the school district a lot. They're voting with their feet. I respect your conservative values on this board and applaud your conservative values.
David, you would be next.
Oh.
Now, David, I'll tell you only have a minute.
I'm not sure I can get wound up and wound down in a minute, so.
That's what I'm telling you. Now, there's 6 seconds.
Maybe I'll forego for the next person. No, I'll forego.
All right, then, thank you. Chris? When the time clock starts.
Hi, my name is Chris. I am the programs manager at San Diego Pride. So much nonsense has been said here tonight. I obviously don't have the time to address it, but I will tell you this, since nobody is speaking from a place of facts or rationale. I'm the person that works with LGBTQ youth when all these people reject them. I'm the person that sees your kids after you spewed a bunch of hate toward them. I'm the one that they go to crying. I'm the one that has to talk them off a ledge. I'm the one that has to talk to LGBTQ kids when they come crying into my office after somebody threw a milk carton at them and called them a faggot. And so, Mr. Carnival, during your speech on the 23rd, you said that our organizations, these teachers, were predators. And I'm wondering if you would still like to stand by that statement, that these people here tonight are predators. Yeah, no, I know that you don't.
Listen is predatory.
are being threatened.
Well, settle, we have another speaker. Settle. Please settle.
That's to the board members. Come on. Says threaten
Next
Valley
speaker.
parent.
Hello, my name is Deborah Toffelmeyer, and I'm actually here to talk to you guys about money tonight. So I'm concerned about the World of Works delinquency with the money that was loaned to them. I don't know that you've done an extension or you voted on that, but I am concerned about your budget next year lacking those funds being repaid. In addition, I want to tell you as a taxpayer, I don't feel this board is qualified based on their past decisions to be a bank or a lender. Don't lend my money. My taxpayers' money is what you're using to fund things like World of Works events without any idea if you're ever getting the money back. I'm really, really upset about your decision-making ability when it comes to this topic. You need those funds to run this school district. I don't see them back here for your schools. I paid those taxes. I'd like a refund, please. I don't like how you're spending my money. So I'm watching all of you and how you vote your money, and I will continue to. Thank you.
Question to staff on that last public comment, if I may.
No.
Really?
You don't respond to it.
Public comment.
No, you can't
I think I can ask questions of
Yeah.
staff after the
No.
public comment.
You can ask questions of staff at any time, but not during public comment.
Yeah, public comment.
Civil Elias. Oh. All right, we'll have our next five then. Bernadette Hillman, followed by Pam, no last name, followed by Michelle Gable, Sharif Finn, and Michael Brady. So, is Bernadette here? Bernadette would be the first speaker. So, Pam, we have Pam. We don't have Pam. Michelle. Okay, you'll be the next one up. Michelle, we have Michelle Gable. Yes, the other two apparently didn't show. Give me 1 second. Sharif Finn, are you here? Wonderful. Michael Brady, sir. Thank you. Working on it. After that gentleman, Shane Mueller, please. And then Cole Estrada at the end.
After attending the ELAC meeting and the SSC meeting just yesterday and seeing the 22-23 funded program evaluation, I learned that our children, 24% are at risk for tier 3. That's 2 grade levels below where they should be. And with math, 36% are at risk for tier 3. And I don't even have the numbers for tier 2, which is 1 grade below. And as a parent, I believe and I feel that parents send their children to school for academic growth, academics first and foremost. And I believe sex, love, and acceptance is inspired and taught at home by parents and caregivers. Based on the 22-23 parent Gallup parent survey, only 32% of parents felt fully engaged with the children and school education. And I think that might be because ED, tutors, camps, everything amazing that you guys have to offer, there's waiting lists. Children and families are being left behind, and they want growth. They want more. And there's so many questions. When and how were the Cajon parents notified of this curriculum change? Why wasn't the agenda posted? What curriculum is going to be cut? And where's 20% of the curriculum going? Lastly, I just hope and wish that we all focus on love and love academics. Thank you.
So I had a 3-minute speech that you're not going to get through.
So after listening to everything tonight, I just want to say, Mr. Carnevale, thank you. Thank you for being diligent. Thank you throughout your time that you've been on the board thus far. And, you know, I take issue. I live in Blossom Valley. My children don't go to your school district with intent. So, you know, this whole curriculum that they want to teach with, you know, bringing in the transgender stuff, when you want to let my kid pray in your district and pray in your classrooms before they start their day, I might return them then, but I don't see that happening. I think it's important that our district provide our children with a well-rounded education that promotes critical thinking, respect for diverse perspectives, and upholds our shared values. This includes maintaining a curriculum that aligns with the age-appropriate and scientifically accurate information. By upholding the principles of balanced education, you will then...
Good evening, members of the school board, guests, staff, parents, community members. My name is Michael. I feel compelled to address the issue we're hearing so much about here tonight. School board members are entrusted with the responsibility of making decisions that reflect the best interests of our students and our community. The things we're hearing tonight have no place in our educational system. It not only undermines values of tolerance, but it also poses a significant threat to the well-being and safety of our students. I implore the school board to address this matter with the utmost urgency and seriousness it deserves. It is imperative that through an investigation, a thorough investigation is conducted to ascertain if online comments by board members are stirring up this divisiveness. And if they are, this board has the votes to determine the appropriate course of action to address these specific incidents and develop clear guidelines and codes of conduct that explicitly prohibit this speech and discriminatory behavior from any member of this board. And by doing so, we can ensure that our leaders are held to our highest.
My name is Shane Mueller, and I've worked 12 years for the neighboring school district, La Mesa Spring Valley Schools. I may work here, I may work there, but I live here in El Cajon. My neighbor's children go to this school district. The families in my community depend on this school district. But I have seen bigotry and hateful behavior that my own district has faced, but nothing like the atrocities happening in my own backyard. It disgusts me and enrages me that someone given a position of power has directly demeaned the lives of these students, the faculty, and the families of El Cajon. I am here tonight for my neighbors, for their children, and for my fellow educators. I'm here to support the families and communities that make El Cajon a diverse mix of cultures that we should all be proud of. If you cannot stand by the supporting staff who gives these children every resource they can, you should not be here. This is a community, these are our families, and none of us are going to tolerate racist, phobic hatred towards them.
The last speaker was Cole Estrada. Is Cole present?
We send our kids to learn math, not to learn about
Stop.
you guys. To learn math, not to learn about you guys.
That's what I teach.
Cole?
That's the reason we're taking our kids from your school.
Please restart the clock.
Thank you so much for having us.
We're gonna restart. That's your time.
I am a human being first and foremost. There's no gay agenda. If there was a gay agenda, we would have taken over the world already. We are human beings. When you step into my classroom, you are welcomed with love for you as a human. There's nothing else going on. There is no special curriculum for trans. Look it up. This is misinformation. You come into my room and I see you for who you are. You either have whatever you bring to the table. You are kind, you are loved, you can do English well, you can do all of these things, and it has nothing to do with anything else than the human gifts that you are given.
All right. I want to thank every speaker. Regardless of viewpoint, it takes guts to sit up here for a minute.
You're doing well.
It has to be respected. Some of us, unfortunately, didn't respect the speakers tonight. A couple of those people have now been removed, appropriately, on both sides. Although this was not agendized, I don't know exactly why everybody's here on this particular topic, I believe. But the fact of the matter is that the discussion is happening. We should be concerned when the discussion stops happening. Keep that in mind. With that said and done, Cajon Valley Education Association.
Can you hear me good? Good evening, President Miller and Board of Trustees. My name is Steve Davidson, as you know, and I am the CVA President. Standing with me is the CSEA President and the CVAA Presidents, and our members. We stand here today to remind you that Cajon Valley is a school district for everyone of all shapes, colors, orientations, backgrounds, and creeds. And it is a place that should be free of intimidation, harassment, discrimination, and retaliation. Which is why it is not okay for any member of this board to create such an environment through speech, actions, or social media posts. Each one of you is entitled to free speech, and should you choose, can go on social media. But none of you are entitled to create an unsafe and intimidating environment at the district by espousing lies, conspiracies, baseless accusations, and untruths that harm the employees of this district. We are here to remind you that everyone in our district, from the cafeteria attendants to the district's trustees, has a legal obligation to create and maintain a safe workplace free of harassment, discrimination, and retaliation that welcomes everybody. Trustees fail in that obligation when they post speeches that inflict emotional harm against district staff and teachers, and that creates an unsafe work environment. We have heard directly from our members that they now fear for their own personal safety and fear of retaliation for doing their jobs professionally and with compassion and empathy. There are procedures for evaluating curriculum and books. It is not done on social media or by intimidating the employees of this district. If any of the trustees want to wage a culture war, it is done on their own time and has no place in our schools. Cajon Valley Union School District is a place where teachers and staff come together with administrators, parents, to prepare our students for a successful and rewarding future. It is not a place that is torn apart by misinformation, prejudice, and intolerance. We hope the board sees fit to protect and help district staff and teachers do their jobs without fear of intimidation, harassment, discrimination, and retaliation. Let's end the board meetings with positive interactions between the trustees and the schools. There are so many incredible things happening at the schools that need to be shared with our community, and we gotta get it out there. Thank you.
CSEA.
Good evening, board, superintendent, Captain. For those of you who don't know, my name is Mark Regals. I am the California School Employees Chapter 179 president. Been an employee of this district for over 16 years. As a leader in this district, and in my role as a classified employee, I'm committed to the well-being of our students, our district, and our community. I'm here to address the recent remarks made by the board member Anthony Carnival at the last meeting. I find these comments to be deeply concerning and detrimental to the inclusive environment we have fostered over my career in our district. Our priorities as leaders should be to support our students and provide them with a safe and nurturing learning environment, regardless of their race, religion, ethnicity, gender, or any other aspect of their identity. It's disheartening to hear an elected leader who represents our district making decisive and derogatory remarks without any regard for the damage to those comments could cause to our students. Comments like these perpetuate discrimination and marginalization and serve only to paint our district in a negative light, our community, and making all of our jobs harder. On top of the human toll this framework takes, it also risks driving down our ADA, as parents are not going to send their kids into a district where one is of its elected leader is using their students as pawns to score political points in some culture war the parents didn't sign up to be a part of. They just want their children to be more successful than they were. That's it. That's the bottom line. We have to know that focusing on identity politics instead of student success does nothing to build our district. We need leaders who promote inclusiveness, empathy, and understanding, because our students learn from our example. We don't need to jeopardize their safety and education of the many by emboldening the worst nature of the few. I urge the board to address these concerns seriously, taking appropriate action to ensure our students feel valued and supported. Let us come together as a community, parents, student leaders, and staff to foster an environment where diversity is celebrated and all students feel valued. Cajon Valley is supposed to be the best place to work, play, and raise a family. For us to succeed in that mission, we must cultivate an environment where a student is empowered to succeed. They deserve nothing less. And the silence by the board members last board meeting, if we don't speak up against this rhetoric, we're doomed to create history all over again.
CVA.
Good evening. Normally after a board meeting of this length, I would forego my report.
but I felt it was important to talk about some of the positive things happening in our district on behalf of CVAA. So for those of you that don't know me in the room, I'm Sarah Robinson. I'm currently the principal at Magnolia Elementary, but I'm also the outgoing president of CVAA. Brian Hanley, where you at, Brian? Brian will be stepping into the president position effective July 1st. And thank you, Brian. I know you'll be amazing at representing our unique group. I must say I'm saddened to see us here again with a board in conflict. I kind of thought those days were over. But like I said, I want to talk about some of the positive things happening in our district right now. I want to give a shout out to personnel. Karen Rossignol specifically has probably answered thousands of emails just this week with posting of certificated positions that we need to be filled for next year. She may still be in her office right now. Purchasing and facilities have been working hard to get our classrooms ready and filled with furniture for next year. Madison recently held their annual demonstrations of learning, and the students and staff did an amazing job. Johnson and Bostonia recently hosted the San Diego Dual Language Conference visits back in March. Magnolia just held a huge festival and art show that had over 900 community members in attendance. Thank you, Joe, for coming to support us. Avocado recently had their Dino Day, and if you don't follow them on Instagram, I highly recommend. Lexington and Greenfield enjoyed their Pittsburgh and Mason City schools visits and are super excited about the work ahead that's focused on kids. And Blossom Valley had another successful Kids Biz event with lots of great future entrepreneurs on display. The truth is, there's so many amazing things to highlight at our schools and from our departments that I can't list them all. We've already been here quite long enough. And that's why it's such a shame to see so much focus on the negative. Because if each of you board members come to our schools, you will see so many amazing things happen. So I encourage you to visit all of them and not just the ones that are in your area. So I'll leave you with this. In Cajon Valley, we mean what we say. And when we say all children, we mean all children. As a public school, we serve all students in our community, and honestly, that's the best thing about our work. We are here to serve all kids, and we mean it.
PTA report.
Yes, I'm gonna take that. We did have our PTA site council meeting today and had the changing of the guards. So Jemima is stepping down as president, but will be moving into the 9th Circuit. And Edith Hernandez is going to be taking over the reins as president. We also have Christina Calavaro, who is going to be the vice president, Harry McCuro, who is the treasurer, Karen Rand, who is the secretary, Sarah Waite is the historian, and Randy Griffith is the auditor. So just really excited for the upcoming year. We also hosted the city manager and wanting to really get involved with the schools and the PTAs and the PTOs regarding the homeless in the area and how we as a community can have a voice. And so working with our city managers, our city council, and staff, and having that community together will be a part of really opportunities for safety for all. I also have Sorry. The PTO, first time,
This is my part, don't leave.
Sorry, it's gonna, reading it is gonna be. So we have the end of the year report from the PTO. And thanks to our amazing school community, the PTO was able to accomplish so much for our scholars and staff. So here are a few highlights from 2022 to 23.
For Blossom Valley specific.
Oh, this is Blossom. Sorry. So TK and Kinder chorale music program, the first grade chorale music program, second grade chorale music program, and third grade. Fourth grade EduDance, sorry. Fifth grade patriotic and promotion performance, the art docent volunteer for every class teaching art skills, room parents, class parties, and teacher support, as well as free videos to parents for all performances, which is great when you're not able to make it to those performances. Teacher and staff support, the art closet was filled with art supplies last year. $5,000 was awarded to in teacher grants that purchased butterflies, chicken incubators, dominoes, sensory items, and SDC, classroom organizers, and more. Staff luncheons, staff appreciation week, daily food service and gifts, counseling games, library books, donated books to every class, as well as school events were all free to all the families. Donut Day, Kinder Singing Day, Fall Festival, Grinch Movie Night, Back to School Barbecue, the Hoot Nanny, Spring Fling, that's just a fun word to say, Hoot Nanny. Sorry, distracted. Camp Christmas, which was so much fun, super cold. And Spirit Days and Weeks, art shows, field day, lunch on the lawn. And behind the scenes, yearbook production, fifth grade activities, the Kinder Luau, Thanksgiving baskets for the families that were able to make sure that every family had a holiday, a meal and a game, Spirit Wear, getting donations so all kids can get a book item from the book fair, keeping parent relationships strong in the community. So there were also some fundraising results on their Amazon Smiles. Gosh, I wish I had just a total. Believe Kids, Jogathon, oh gosh, that raised $45,000. Believe Kids raised $9,000. And fifth grade raised $7,600. And the memberships were $1,415. So all of these were free for families to attend. So thank you for the report. I appreciate it.
Anybody have a future agenda item? I do. And actually this was a past agenda item that I tried to add to the agenda. I'm not exactly sure why it wasn't. The World Work Foundation is currently delinquent in their repayment agreement that an action of this board said would be repaid within 60 days concluding the conference, which was May 25th or so. I believe we voted somewhere in the neighborhood of $400,000 from district funds that are meant to be spent on students and their academic performance under the oversight of the public, as this board are stewards of the taxpayers' money. I was told that, and thank you, David, for identifying Scott Bucksbaum as the authority on this, that this board could extend this repayment agreement beyond delinquency without an action of the board. So I'm curious how we take an action without taking an action. Why my requested agenda item as a trustee was not added to this agenda when May 25th was the due date. May 26th, the World Work Foundation became delinquent on hundreds of thousands of dollars of the taxpayers' money. So I know Trustee Allegretti, you sit on the board. I'm wondering, has the World Work Foundation met to discuss the delinquency and a repayment plan?
Okay, first of all, that's not what this is about. It's about a future agenda item. It's not
I'm
about-
discussing a future agenda item.
No, it's about placing a future agenda item on the agenda.
Okay.
Of which you have somewhere in there asked for a future agenda item for a review of the WOW, which you have received an email from Scott last month saying it's gonna be done at the end of June. So I'm not sure why we're asking for an agenda item.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
I'll
we
tell
have
you
a
why.
date on that.
I'm
No,
asking
you don't
for-
need to elaborate, Andy. I got you. So we want an agenda item by trustee Carnavale for an accounting of the world of work and its resource for the foundation. That's very clear, and I agree with you.
And I would like an
But
agenda
I just
item.
want to make sure that we follow the procedure.
Okay, I would like an agenda item as well to understand, and hope maybe it would be a closed session agenda item to actually receive advice from district legal counsel, how exactly the board can take an action without taking an action. An action to extend without taking an action. And how two trustees at agenda setting can decide on that. Thank you.
Any other future agenda items? None. We will go to board reports. Anthony, you're on a roll. Keep going.
So, my wife and I had the opportunity to volunteer at Los Coaches Creek with Mr. Remick, assisting the 8th graders in painting the covers of their personal volumes. And what impressed me most is Mr. Remick has he's done extensive research on bookmaking, down to the threads that the students use to hand sew the pages into those books. You know, maybe it was sort of a morbid joke I was making, but I really do believe those books will probably, some of them will outlast all of us, the way they were built. So, you know, sometime in 120 years, they'll find a personal volume of some 8th grader who attended Los Coaches Creek in 2023, and I found that to be really awesome. Day at the Bay, Jason Kaminsky, are you in here?
He's right here.
Shout out to the Kaminskys in general, but Jason and I arrived early this morning with a truck and a van load full of thousands of chips and drinks and snacks, and I'm impressed by us getting all that stuff taken. We had to walk around a construction site. It probably was 400 yards to walk around this construction site to get it all over there. And I'm impressed by the community coming together and just donating way more than we needed to make that day really special. And that actually loops back into Mr. Remick, the guy I was talking about making books. They fly their kites that day. I'm pretty sure that tradition is decades old. I'm pretty sure Mr. Remick's been in the district since, I want to say, the early 80s. So I'm you know, it's a privilege to have had both of my sons in his class. I had a chance to visit Madison Elementary during their demonstration of Learning Day. I saw kids who just arrived in the U.S. this year, not speaking English when they arrived, giving presentations, answering questions, having back and forth discussions about their future career aspirations. And staff from all over the district took the time to sit on those panels to ask the students questions about their careers and provide feedback on their presentations. As far as the site conditions at Madison go, the ramps, especially to the portable buildings, and this is pretty much the rule, not the exception, are severely deteriorated to the point where some of the wood is rotted away, leaving protruding nails on the walking surface of the ramps, on multiple of those ramps. The non-slip surface of those ramps has worn to nothing, essentially. So wanted to bring that to the attention of the board. Hopefully we can avail some resources there. I think it's a safety concern. The buildings at Madison, the older buildings, and this is again multiple buildings, they have multiple loose and flaky layers of paint and stucco, and it's just on the ground, kind of sloughing off of the buildings. It appears to be from moisture exposure at the base of these buildings. And you know, our maintenance staff appears to be trying to mitigate this with sandbags in multiple areas and near the entrances to some of the classrooms. Another site condition, there's this beautiful ancient pine tree. I'm guessing it's over 100 years old. That definitely needs an arborist to look at it. It's kind of looming over and threatening 2 HVAC units on the roof, probably the roof too, because I imagine those branches are very heavy. The electrical outlets in some of those classrooms appear to be loose and in need of repair. I also had a chance to visit Montgomery Middle School. I was impressed by the new principal, Mr. Hurlbert. He seems like he'll make a great leader. Since we're close to summer, many of the classes were already done with grades, and they were enjoying a movie day. I did get to see Miss Allen start her class and was impressed by her ability to get kids engaged and working right away. I also got to see Miss Gunsberg, the English teacher, doing an engaging spin on Shakespeare, while teaching the students how to form a solid prosecutorial argument. I thought you would have really enjoyed that, Jim. So now this is getting to some of the issues that were discussed tonight. I also saw safe space propaganda from glisten.org posted in the Montgomery Middle School Library with links to glisten.org. All of these posters had safe space, glisten.org, and they were in classrooms, and a big poster in the library. To put the shoe on the other foot, and really I'm disappointed, Mark Regals, that you have sat in every one of these board meetings, and I feel that you've misled and manipulated your members, because you could have quoted me, and the fact that you didn't says everything, in my opinion. Our board meetings are recorded. As I mentioned at the beginning of the meeting, sorry, Karin, I don't want to bring you into this topic, but you took excellent notes of the last board meeting. So when I speak about a groomer cartel of nonprofits like glisten.org seeking direct contact relationships with other people's children in school, being explicit that you can leave the parents out, I think the public comment earlier was representative of the sort of relationships they develop with other people's children. That has no place in our district. Outside links posted in the library or on cajonvalley.net, the buck stops with the superintendent. I know this board has been pretty clear in its direction to have those things taken down. As far as the Montgomery Middle School virtual library, it remains up, glisten.org. So to put the shoe on the other foot, you have a poster in the library, safe space, foothillschurch.org. Maybe everyone in this room could immediately recognize why we have an advertising policy that would prohibit those sort of external links to these groups. Now, when you have a group like Glisten, who asked 7th graders for their home or safe address and their sexual or romantic orientations, and stores that data in some server here in San Diego County, they say that school is a hostile environment. Home is not a safe place, but we have a safe place where we're going to query this information from children, specifically targeting 12-year-olds. So, just to explain the groomer cartel statement, YMCA, San Diego Youth Services, glisten.org, offers 12-year-olds, explicitly 12-year-olds, want to make some money? We'll give you $20 if you go to your doctor and report back to the Trans Youth Project. And we'll use that information to educate doctors in San Diego County. Share your very personal medical experience with us, right? For 20 bucks. That's what I mean when I say groomer cartel. It fits the definition. Yep. If you care to go back and read the minutes or watch our board meetings as they are recorded, you will see that I never make any attacks on any staff members in this district. I understand my role here. He's our one employee. Anything that gets posted again on our library or on our website, it's not the responsibility of our staff. I don't think the staff has ill intention when there's such an aggressive group trying to infiltrate and establish direct contact relationships with other people's children in the name of LGBTQ rights. So, Cajon Valley is a place for all students, each and every student and staff member. If anything ever came before me on this board about discrimination on the basis of gender identity or LGBTQ, I would want the maximum amount of discipline for the student or staff member doing that. Okay, so when these, and a lot of conversation tonight was, we love and respect all of our students and staff. I don't want to speak for the rest of the board, but I can pretty much guarantee you we all feel that way. Every staff member, each and every student in this district. So, that being said, I think a lot of people were brought here tonight under false pretenses. Unfortunately, I hope that the leaders of our district will not misrepresent, not emotionally manipulate people into coming here. I know GLSEN's go-to tactic when you attack their improper procedures is to say, well, you must hate gay kids. Well, that's using gay children as an ideological human shield to defend their very inappropriate practices in our district. So earlier when the speaker was commenting, do you think these staff members are trying to groom? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. GLSEN, yes, they fit the definition. And I encourage you all to go look at their safe space kit and their safe space training and see for yourself. I went off on a tangent because I didn't get to talk about, I had a chance to visit the World of Work Gold Rush and the 5th grade businesses at Blossom Valley. The teachers and students do a tremendous job each year there. The library, the multi-purpose room, the playground outside were packed with parents. And the students were doing a great job, and the teachers, stay after work. The whole staff was there. You could tell they were run ragged from setting up for the week, but you could also tell that they just love it. So, finally, I'd like to bring some concerns to the public that I've experienced while trying to carry out my duties. I was apt to remain silent on these concerns, chalking them up to mistakes or coincidences as they piled up. But last week they reached a crescendo. It can no longer be ignored. So last week when I provided a courtesy notice and then letting the board know this, to 2 principals that I'd be visiting their schools, the superintendent emailed me and those principals instructing them not to respond and that we would forward my request to our district's legal counsel and our board president. I'm elected by people to do my job. That was totally, completely inappropriate and out of line and beyond your authority. I've received from you similar comments to Mark Riegel's insinuating hate speech. I've given you the opportunity to explain what you mean. And I think all you could come up with was that I was being mean about GLSEN. Yeah, and I'll continue to be. They shouldn't be posting their propaganda in our district anyway. This gets back to the leadership thing. I am sorry. I'm sorry that the leaders of this district misled and manipulated and used hate without any evidence whatsoever. Quote me if you want to. There's hours of me talking on Facebook or me posting. So I view this as a breakdown of leadership. That's my honest opinion. I would find similar treatment of any member of this board by a superintendent to be unacceptable. If you're willing to behave this way with a duly elected member of this board, shudder to think about the potential intimidation and retaliation tactics you may use elsewhere. So, yeah. I could go on. And I will, you know. So, one of my first experiences in closed session under anticipated litigation, and I want to explain to this crowd, that is for this board to meet and receive advice from our attorneys. There was no attorney present. There was no attorney opinion present. It was David, who was not an attorney, giving his own opinion of a matter that directly involves him. That, you know, hasn't happened in a while, and I hope it won't. But that is another issue. So these things built up. I've been silent about them. I've been on this board for 6 months, and you know, no less than 3 times insinuating that I'm committing defamation because I'm asking about a curriculum, or because I'm asking about a public contract that's a public matter, or because I'm saying critical things of listed in their policies. So, again, in my view, the buck stops with the superintendent. I understand my role here. I'm an elected fiduciary of the students of this district under the doctrine of in loco parentis, which is a sacred bond, and we all, meaning all staff members and board members and cabinet, have that sacred bond. If you find yourself severing that bond, saying, you know, home may not be a safe place, get in touch with that Southside organization. You're in no man's land. You have no delegated authority at that point. That's how I view it.
You're right.
The parent-to-child relationship is sacred. It should be protected.
You're doing a great job. Keep it up.
Thank you. I'm about done, so I had a lot more to say to the students and staff of this district. I love and respect all of you. Contrary to what you've been told, again, I encourage any of you to go see what I've written and what I've said, and not be misled and manipulated. Thank you.
Juliana, your board report. No board report from Juliana. Joe.
Thank you, Anthony. I appreciate your words. I do need to address something that was brought to my attention in regards to something that Mark Regal said here at the mic in regards to my silence, my own personal silence in regards also to the last board meeting and why that happened and the course of my thoughts of what was happening at the time. So as a board member, we have an obligation based on what our roles are. We learn about those obligations through an organization, CSBA, where we have the opportunity to participate in what we call Masters in Governance, which help us to understand our roles on the board. And if you're a city council member, or if you're other members of other types of boards, or boards that serve in other types of realms, they also have the opportunity to participate in Masters of Governance. In Masters of Governance, we start to begin to understand our roles, what we govern over, how we address protocols within the school district, how we address issues on the dais. And part of that, as we board members, we need to always consider the element of surprise. They talk about this when we go through our Masters of Governance. The element of surprise meaning, if a topic is being approached to the dais that I had never heard before, it would not be to my privy to speak on behalf of that topic if I don't know anything about it. So that's one of the reasons why a lot of the things that were said at the last board meeting were a bit shocking. And I would need to know, based on my own investigation, as to what kinds of things are being implemented or not being implemented. That also is very important for my fiduciary responsibility to this community. So in regards to that, what I find interesting is that all of us here are so impassioned by the children of this district, the students of this district, and that we all, every single one of us, I hate to say across the aisle, but every single one of us want the best for what's happening in our kids' lives. My heart broke for that little girl who started crying. And I don't know what the perceptions were, but it didn't matter. At that point right there, what that little girl was experiencing in this room was basically our modeled behavior of how we treat one another. And we all have our differences, but we also all have what we have in common. We all have, number one, the education of this school, the education of the students of this school district is absolutely number one, along with their safety. In talking with stakeholders in this district, I didn't hear anyone say that they were interested in grooming or transgender never even came up. But what I do know is that I've been bullied. And I've been a bully myself. And other kids get bullied. And I dare to say that all of us in this room have not, perhaps, may have been a bully ourselves. Or at least had the perception of being a bully from someone. Yet we're all coming in this room right now, tonight, with our differences. And how does that bode well for our students? How does that bode well for our community? Do we have similarities? Do we have people in this room that we love that maybe someone else doesn't love? Do we have people in this room that we don't know that if we got to know them and then suddenly revealed where they were coming from, would we suddenly hate them because of that? Are we a community, or are we a district who presses into learning about each other, valuing one another? Why are we not talking about how to love one another? Why are we not talking about that? Why are we talking about the difference of diversity? What do we have in common? Where do we land? Do we love these children? Do we want the best for them? We voted down the sex ed curriculum for a myriad of reasons. A myriad of reasons. But the sex ed curriculum that we voted down wasn't based on, in my opinion, I voted that sex ed curriculum down since I've been on the board. Forever. I've never voted for it. Ever. Go look back on my track record. But we have an opportunity now to come together as a community, to bring our differences to the table and also our similarities. When it comes to where we're from, where we stand. If the morale of this district is low, how do you think that affects our students? And we're all guilty of it. Every single one of us in this room. We can do better.
Absolutely.
So, looking forward, ladies and gentlemen, we have a curriculum to build. With every stakeholder involved. We bring everything to the table of what we want this curriculum for health, for safety, for sex ed to look like for Cajon Valley. Can we do this? Will we do this? That's all I have.
Karen.
Wow. My heart is grieved for the state of where we are right now. I think if this is the bottom, we can only go up. I think there is opportunity. I was thinking about the 5-to-1 ratio. It takes 5 positives to override 1 negative. So if we can find the strengths, which was part of, I think, how we have gotten to this place, is through our World of Work curriculum to understand our strengths, interests, and values. We all have strengths in this room. We all have weaknesses. And it's how do we come together and encourage one another in our strengths and to fill in the gap where somebody has a weakness. We have a lot of work ahead. We have a lot of repair because a lot of damage has been done. My heart is just super, super sad. Super sad. And I think shame on us. I don't have all the answers. I'm not going to be everything for everyone. I have my strengths that I bring to the table. I am a marriage and family therapist. I come from a very compassionate place. I want to know what makes somebody work. And I think that's a part of how we can be the best version. Not tearing each other down. There's more opportunity, not jumping to conclusions. But how do we find that hope again? I appreciate what has been said. I believe that there is still so much to do. With that, I'm going to go to some positives of some amazing things that have been going on. I do have a video, but it's not really ready to go. So I'm not a tech person. That is not my gift. Meridian Kinder Farmers Market had an amazing event. It was so cute to see all the little kids exchanging their little money, our little police officers and the farmers. Even our chicken Daisy was sitting there, and for them to be able to have that connection. I know my grandson loved the chickens, and that was a part of therapy for him. Pet therapy. I think we still need more pet therapy, not just at Flying Hills. So, we also had Slime Day, so thank you for those that got slimed in the benefits of fundraising for our students. Anthony, Mark, Steve, and Dr. Miyashiro, and then we had a couple of others, our sheriff, chief, I believe, and I can't remember who else. I did mention earlier the PTA site council. There is an opportunity, again, for parents. If you're not involved with the PTA or PTO or your school, help, get involved with your students, get involved in the community, be a voice. That is one thing that I wanted to make sure happened here, is to have parent voice here at not just all the negative things, but how do we look at the positive things that we're doing and some areas we can work on, right? So they're gonna have some town hall meetings through our city manager's office and Chief Moulton. They've taken their time, our city council. I'm really excited for this opportunity for us all to be a part of the solutions of homelessness in our community. Thank you, Chrissy, for bringing the PTO report. I appreciate that. I also got an opportunity as I was milling around today at like 3 or 4 different sites, and doing my own work. I had a client today as well. Johnson had their promotions, and so that was really wonderful to be a part of that, or to go and view it. But again, this is a time of year to celebrate our students. They are promoting right now. They're moving from kindergarten into 1st grade. I have 2 kindergarten grandkids that I'm really excited about the next steps for them to find their strengths, interests, and values, and so that they can be on the path to gainful employment. I really hope that our staff and parents finish this year off great. I'm also hope that our staff have a wonderful and well-deserved summer break. And if you are staying on for Camp Cajon, let's make it awesome. Let's rally and let's work together for the sake of our students. Please. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. At the risk of being the president that presides over the second longest board meeting that our district's had, I'll say a few words. So, one, I will be at Avocado tomorrow. Avocado is near and dear to my 2 of my older kids went there years and years ago. Working on a number of things for the district, behind the scenes and on school sites. It's always fun to get tapped to do that. Thank you, David. The trial lawyer in me is very hard to separate. Wants to address the 31 people that addressed us this evening. Wants to address Anthony to an extent, and our other board members just to comment, respond, debate. Conversation is important. Debate is important. Having a passion and an opinion is important. But it does come down to this. Your passion and your opinion need to be based upon fact. It has to be based upon fact. If I walk into a courtroom, which is the ultimate arbitrator, based upon our system of governance, I don't have the facts, I have a lot of passion, I lose. But it should. Our kids and our role for our kids is to educate them, keep them safe. Period. I do not care what they or their parents' political persuasion is, whatever their sexual orientation is. I do not care what they practice for their religion or not. That is their right. Just as it is my right to have my opinion based upon fact. But when we sit on the dais in the representation capacity that we're here, I think it is vitally important that we hear more than we speak. My father gave me some very sage advice when I was a young man. My father was a preeminent attorney in this town. He said, Jim, you never learn when you're the one speaking. So think about that for a second. In summation, if you're the one talking, you already know what you're going to say. I would implore all of us, listen, and then ascertain the facts. Candor is good. Being truthful in discussion, in debate, and opposing ideas is good. That's where consensus can then be found. Coming back to my day job as an attorney, two separate sides, going to be more disagreement on something, but they agree to mediate. How did we start the mediation? Congratulations, you've agreed. Both sides look at each other, what have we agreed upon? You've agreed to be here today. Sometimes it takes that small step to find the next one. So, while there's some rancor in the room tonight, My heart is not upset. My heart is actually full of the fact that people are passionate, people want to have conversations. Again, it comes down to the facts. David, Anthony, we're going to have coffee and lunch soon. And why? Because you're going to agree to meet, and that'll be your first step. Because this man over here helped lead the largest public school district in the United States into opening during COVID. And I don't care what comes after, that's the first step.
We protested that.
And this man right here has been elected to a job that is not easy, and people don't understand what it all entails until you're here. That requires and gains respect as well. 6 years ago, Joe, you didn't tell me everything that this job entailed me. You told me to come out here for it. But ultimately, again, it comes down to educating our students, keeping them safe. We focus on those 2 points, can't go wrong. Right? So I'm going to forego my this day in history, although I got a big one. So everybody who came out, or whatever purpose you came out for, thank you for coming. Thank you for watching how a governing board at the local level operates. Is it pretty? No. No, sorry. It could be a whole lot more dysfunctional. I've seen those. But thank you for sitting through the entire thing, right? I don't begrudge people that want to get to dinner. I want to go to dinner. I want to go see my wife. I want to see my daughter who's now on summer break. I'm here. But I would like it when they stay for the whole thing. We stay for the whole thing. And, you know, it's a passion to work with kids, whether it be me coaching, whether it be sitting on this board. And I think that everybody here has that passion, and that's important. That drives everything else. So with those comments said, turn it over for David for a superintendent's report. Thank you.
One of these days, the superintendent report is going to be first. But I do have some thoughts and some critical updates too, so I'll try to be brief. These are from earlier today. Our Bostonia Global Scholars were recognized by the City Council for the mentorships, and our World of Work program, now that we have high school students, involves mentorships with Heartland Fire, El Cajon PD, and City Public Works, which they couldn't be more happy with our students. Earlier today, I was in Star Ariola's classroom. She invited me to come be part of House Hunters project, where her kids heard me pitch my dream house, and then they built it for me. So this was today, 6 weeks after the initial meeting, where they're Shark Tank to design some products, and this is the winning team. If we had more time, I'd play the whole thing, but they were incredible, and grateful for CVMS for that event. This morning, I got to speak at ANZ's first 6th grade commencement in over 20 years. They didn't have a 6th grade class in K-5. What I learned is that ANZA has over 30 languages spoken just at ANZA. We have 35 languages spoken in our district, 30 of them at ANZA is incredible. And to see a community like that come together is only due to the love and care of the staff to create that environment. It's incredible. So safety update. We met earlier this week with our consultant on our safety plan that you authorized at the May meeting. The objective is to take and build upon what we've already done in safety and security, and to understand and lead into the concerns that still exist. So prior to my arrival, we had 6 counselors. We now have 65. Prior to arrival, we didn't have a safety committee. We hired Brian Love in 2018. Now we have a safety department that is making a huge impact on our community. And there are things that the board did in 2018 after Uvalde to harden our schools, to take assessments, and to make sure our trainings and procedures are well too. Here's an update from El Cajon Police Department and the San Diego Sheriff.
We're out here with El Cajon Police Department SWAT team, and we are going through an active shooter training, and they are experiencing some of the challenges that they would normally experience in a real life situation. We have 27 schools within the Cajon Valley Union School District, and not every police officer is familiar with all our schools, so this is an opportunity to interact with law enforcement and them interacting with us so that we can work together as a team in the event something like an active threat was to occur on our school campus.
It's really important that we get realistic training, not only for the officers to understand the surroundings, recognize the surroundings, but the obstacles and difficulties that we're going to encounter, like a gate or a door that we might not be able to mimic somewhere else. It's really important for us to get our scenario-based training as realistic as possible. In El Cajon, we have a liaison with the Cajon Valley School District, and having Ryan at the school district has been a game changer for us. Ryan, with his former experience at the Sheriff's Department and his proactive attitude about contacting law enforcement and getting us involved, he understands that training is paramount. Training is what's going to help bring success, and his years of law enforcement experience recognize that we need to come to real locations and get the realistic training that is going to benefit the team, but it's also going to benefit the school district. And I hope other districts, if they're not doing it already, look into it, because it's been great for us. This is not something that we would ever want to prepare for in anticipation of happening, but I think that we all would want to prepare for an incident to help bring it to the best possible resolution. And it's critically important that the school districts build those relationships with the police departments, and that the students and the staff and the parents all help build those relationships as well. The school districts are entrusted with taking care of our children, and a lot of the officers have children in the school districts in the city of El Cajon. We work in the city, and we want to take care of the kids as well. It's important for us to build that relationship and training here, not only for us and the benefit of the officers responding, but for the kids to see us out here and have us be a regular part of their lives, and hopefully not just on bad days.
So there's a lot in place, but the primary concerns coming in lately from classified, certificated, our principals, parents, and our students is that safety on a day-to-day basis, when children act out, when a child makes a threat, when a child feels bullied or gets even physically harmed, is that we don't have systems in place that adequately provide for some type of mediation or resolution where a kid can come back and feel at school safe. Kids have come to our boardroom saying that I don't feel safe at school. We heard them. Our parents have come to say that we don't feel safe sending our kids because there was a threat and we don't feel anything was done. A lot of these things are indications of policies and procedures instituted by the state of California around restorative practices that in theory can work if all the systems are in place, but things are not working. Things need to be improved and we need to lean into them. So starting next week, we're going to start a community engagement process, inviting parents, students, staff, and our principals to participate in person, in focus group, in one-on-one interviews, in survey, based upon their availability, because not everyone can show up in person and commit to the in-person meetings, but we don't want to miss a chance to get every person's voice, to really understand what the concerns are, but then also what are the recommendations, and then what recommendations can we bring to the board to either change some of our practice or invest some dollars into different types of staff or resources for security. So these are going to happen roughly quickly over the summer because we don't want to wait until the start of next year. We want to have some recommendations in place before we start the school year for the board. So we're going to take an aggressive approach to the safety committee. I'll just make some final comments on, any questions on our safety committee?
We'll have that information.
Yeah, and the same process will happen with our sexual health committee in terms of stakeholder input and then timeline. We'll take our time with that because we need to have our teachers involved in the development process. The issues that we came to address tonight that weren't on our agenda weren't issues for us 3 months ago. And honestly, for the last, I would say 8 to 10 years, our employees have come together to take our progressive ideas and put them into conservative values in a curriculum that lives anywhere in the United States. people from Kentucky, Indiana, and Pennsylvania come here and say, you guys have tackled diversity, inclusiveness, and equity in a way that can live in red and blue states. There's nothing controversial about happy kids engaged in healthy relationships on the path to gainful employment. Every parent wants their kid to be self-aware, to have self-love, to be accepted in their community for whoever they are, and to start developing the skills and network to start their path to gainful employment, whether it be into the military, 2-year, 4-year, right out of the workforce, or to a 4-year and master's degree. That we have in place. We also have in place a mechanism to actually make it happen. So we studied over the past 4 years, Netflix, Amazon, Disney, how do the best companies in the world actually get the maximum value and satisfy all customers? And it's through processes like the 8 promises. So our staff, our Cajon Valley, you see a lot of them in our Cajon Valley shirts. We deliver as a team, we communicate positively, we build community. These are the things that we do every day to build a culture that can come and sing and dance together.
District, they were also involved in today's flash mob. Yeah, Elko police were there, Heartland firefighters, even city council members. Those guys are good. Legit.
But when it comes to curriculum and instruction and creating a system that supports the well-being and education of all kids, we have that figured out too.
CV conference is multiple days of professional learning for classified and certificated staff in Cajon Valley. We like to end our conference with something fun and light and motivate kick off the new year. This year, our theme is the 80s.
It's just a great time to build those relationships with your staff, with your coworkers before the year starts.
For more than another year.
How did Mike start and get off the hook?
I feel we have the opportunity to have so much input in moving forward in everything this district is doing to meet the needs of all of our students.
CV conference is great because you get a chance to learn new things and connect with people and have a positive start to the school year. There's a lot of things I've done in my 31 years that I think can help, but then there's teachers that have been here 1 year and can teach me new things.
This was a great opportunity for me to see what is going on in the schools, the impact, the programs that we implemented have on the students.
What's nice about this experience is it's not just a bunch of people shuffling from class to class. It makes it more fun, it makes it more lively, it's entertaining, it's not just this thing that you have to do, but
I hope
you
whoever
want to go
picked this
to.
theme is also.
We have over 100 sessions being offered. We have sessions for everybody. We want to make sure everyone felt included and have a place where they can go learn specifically for their content.
Those conferences did help me a lot doing my job in a more professional way, being part of Cajon Valley community. It was really a good experience.
When you're part of the Cajon Valley team, you are part of something bigger than no one else is doing. And I think the big picture is hearing the message, what are we all trying to achieve? And it is the vision, it is our mission, it is about happy kids and healthy relationships on a path to gainful employment.
This is who we are. We are not broken, we're fine. And we're gonna be fine. And I'm glad Jimmy brought up reopening of schools because this picture, which you'll remember, in April of 2020, the Coronado Marriott allowed us to come occupy their space at a very low rate because they didn't have any customers.
They called us names. This is
To
where
come
they called
together
us
with our management
names.
team
Oh,
and
yeah, I
both
remember
unions
that.
are there to discuss how can we reopen our schools? How can we safely do this when there's no model, there's nobody else in the country doing it? So we said we would start with free childcare for essential workers, 1 classroom of 18 students at Chase Elementary School, turned into 2, turned into 5. Then the demands from our parents when we started to hear that we were offering this really started to expand to the point where we had to start to think about a more systemic reopening. And we brought our union leaders into closed session. 3 of you will remember, that had never happened before. To have a conversation about, really what's the reality, what can we do, what's possible. And so this is what happened in April, May, and June of 2020.
Our schools are a place where students go for safety, for food, and that security and that routine. And in a time of turmoil in our lives with COVID, schools have just really become a safe place for students. I personally feel that when students walk in that door, they're walking into a place to thrive and be their best every single day.
And by June 2020, all 27 schools opened for students that wanted to come and we're the model for the rest of the country. But I share that because this vision and mission were possible because our employees trusted us. We asked them to come to work, and we told them that we would take care of them, that we would make it safe, that we put in procedures. If we don't come together and regain our semblance as a governance team, we will lose employee trust, because trust is based on morale. Morale creates a culture where people want to do the work. And our teachers and our support staff wanted to come do the work because they love our kids, they love our community, but they trusted us. And that's important. And so, again, we figured this out years ago, that we have a person-specific approach to equity. When we have 35 languages spoken in 28 schools, and a variety of staff that represent themselves and students in different ways, we can't look at groups, we have to look at the individuals and ask, who are you? What do you like to do? And where might you like to do it? And simply, we've created 2 words that embody the Cajon Valley way, and it's you belong. This has been here, it's part of our fabric, and will continue to bring us together. We don't have to figure this out, we've already figured this out. It's working. You belong. And I'll end with channeling Thumper.
If you can't say something nice, don't say nothing at all.
And I want to end with Trustee Carnavale, the things that I've done and said that have offended you or made you feel that I was insubordinate. I apologize. I value our relationship. Our relationship is critical to the full board and the governance team. And whereas I disagree with your interpretation of things that happened, I want to work with you to figure it out. I'm happy to have lunch with Jim.
Good job,